Money, less that money buying all my people freedom. Less that money buying all my people freedom. Less that money buying all my people freedom. Yeah. Give me millions for my real ones, 'cause money don't mean nothing unless my people eatin'. Money don't mean nothing unless my people eatin'. Money don't mean nothing unless my people eatin'. Yeah, I found my purpose and my path. Let go of my past. Isolating myself, I've grown more on my ones. Be careful who you following, car most people are lost. You man whipping different kitchens, but dripping the same sauce. Found solitude, let go of my ego and gain knowledge too. We ain't in the same league, so I ain't got nothing I gotta prove. Past so many obstacles, had patience like hospitals. Skilled with it, ill with it, universe sent me a Doctor Who. Spiritual and logical, I'm a miracle from a molecule. Pop said, chroma locks, there's power in every follicle. Leaving for where it's tropical, need freedom and every dollar too. Don't compromise your self-worth to have people that will follow you. Cause that leadership, man, it's earned. Leadership, man, it hurts. Numb to the hate, I spread love, hope you feel it. And every word, mums didn't have peas up in their purse. So my people out on the curb, hope I make a change before these aliens beam me up from this earth. Give me freedom over money, less than money buying all my people freedom. Less than money buying all my people freedom. Less than money buying all my people freedom. Yeah. Give me millions for my real ones, 'cause money don't mean nothing unless my people eatin'. Money don't mean nothing unless my people eatin'. Money don't mean nothing unless my people eatin'. Yeah. Love to the strong women in my life. Life's been hard, but you made it through with all the odds against your struggle. So much lessons I take from you. Ma, you've been amazing too. Rise from having nothing to qualifications and abundance. Nothing no one can say to you. All trying to make paper moves. Came from living on basic foods. I'm Jamaican too, but I love when auntie cooks jollof and pepe stew. Team wins, then I praise the crew. If I win, then they praise me too. But when I make M's from W's, know the whole tribe celebrating moves. Pops built the foundation, made every accommodation home. Raised me to a real man, show me how a king sits on his throne. They think I'm writing lyrics, this is physics. I've been writing codes, trying to free your mind so them evil spirits can let you go. Freedom, freedom. Got most people enslaved in this matrix, this fake shit. And I just been here waiting, cause they sleeping. Every day doing the same shit, chasing those papers, can't wait till they awaken. Give me freedom over money, less than money buying all my people freedom. Less than money buying all my people freedom. Less than money buying all my people freedom. Yeah. Give me millions for my real ones, 'cause money don't mean nothing unless my people eatin'. Money don't mean nothing unless my people eatin'. Money don't mean nothing unless my people eatin'. Yeah. I do this for my family, who raised up and nurtured the man in me. I've been out here and I've been planting seeds in my garden, water, in my money trees, yeah. I do this for my family, who raised up and nurtured the man in me. I've been out here and I've been planting seeds in my garden, water, in my money trees, yeah. I do this for my family.
All right. Hopefully everybody's having a good day. That video was Freedom Over Money from Friends of Satoshi. I said I was going to start playing more of these videos that I've collected over time, and that is what I'm going to do. Lots going on today, guys. We've got Netanyahu evidently promising that he's not going to be bombing nuclear or oil facilities for Iran, so we saw the price of oil plummet pretty quickly on an impulse lower. It's actually down near 70.61 right now. So it's even lower than what it was initially after that announcement was made. We've got earnings revisions. Oh no, the worst since December of 2022. Maybe you shouldn't be so worried about that. We'll talk about that. Also, earnings revisions upward and downward. We're seeing that, this is kind of interesting. So we're seeing downward revisions rising around the world. This is the MSCI. So this is the world index. And we're seeing upward revisions plummeting. So this is an interesting story. There's more to it. And we'll skip this because that kind of tells you the truth behind it. And we want to save that a little bit, right? Got to have a little bit of a twist here to be able to keep you guys around. All right, economic data from Japan looked pretty weak, but again, we've got Canadian data coming in today too. We also, for the U.S., we have New York Empire Manufacturing Index, Red Book, and consumer inflation expectations, along with a bunch of Feds talking. Nothing really too interesting till tomorrow. We need to talk about Tesla and Q3 deliveries per Troy Teslike and how that might impact earnings. And then we're also going to talk about Bitcoin and why it might still be going up. And we're going to be talking about a whole lot more like we normally do, guys. It's going to be a good time. I got a video I want to watch here, too, in a second. We might actually maybe even start off with that. Let's leave this earnings revisions thing for a little bit and leave you guys stewing and thinking the world's going to fall apart. And then we'll get to the good stuff. Banks are crushing it. Yes, good call, Akash 2000. Let's talk about that just a little bit here with the help of CNBC. 1 second.
And welcome back to Squawk Box. I'm Dominic Chu with your morning movers and headlines. We'll start with some of the earnings headlines this morning. United Health shares right now lower by 3.5% after the health insurance and services giant and Dow component cut its earnings guidance due to lingering disruptions from that cyber attack. United Health also...
1 sec. We're getting to the good stuff.
Reported Q3 earnings and revenues that came in above analyst expectations, saying those results were aided by expansion of its insurance and Optum health tech and pharmacy services business. United Health down 3.5%.
Quite the crew.
Bank of America higher after reporting its third quarter results before the opening bell today. Shares are up just about 1% or so. The bank posted earnings and revenues that came in above analyst estimates on a better than expected trading revenue kind of mark. Revenues from stock trading, bright spot there, 18% gains there year over year. Investment banking fees rose by 18% as well. So some of the early headlines around B of A driving those shares up 1%. We'll end with Boeing, another Dow component. Those shares have been swinging between gains and losses after a series of announcements this morning. The plane maker...
Sorry, I guess I was a couple seconds early on this one. It's getting to good stuff, though. 1 second.
Said it will add a short-term credit agreement worth around $10 billion with a consortium of banks, including Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, and J.P. Morgan and Citi. Also saying the company filed a registration statement with market regulators for securities and stock sale of up to $25 billion at some point in the future. So, Andrew, Boeing shares now up 2/3 of 1%. I'll send things back over to you guys.
Here we go. Okay. This is where it should have been.
Thanks so much, Dom. Joining us to talk markets, Alicia Levine, head of investment strategy and equities at BNY.
Oh, let me get rid of the caption.
Good morning to you. We are in the middle of earnings season.
There you go.
Curious sort of what your big takeaway is thus far, and is there anything you're doing about it?
So far, clearly bank earnings are coming in better than expected, both top line and bottom line. Net interest income is better than expected. So that is a good signal for the economy. And I think the other thing that they're showing that...
Real quickly, isn't it interesting here when we look at earnings revisions, the most negative since December of 2022, and then the world index seeing a reduction in upward revisions and an increase in downward revisions. And yet you have completely different stories. We'll get into more of that in a second.
Our call for the no landing
Right.
is actually playing out. And that's why you see the stock prices responding to that.
So there is no landing. Forget about soft landing. The
doesn't look
plane
like-
is not even coming close to the ground.
It doesn't look like there's a landing right now. I mean, it's looking like a very close to 3% quarter.
Not in the USA.
For the third quarter, which is essentially 2 quarters in a row of 3%.
Right.
It's no landing. Right.
Pretty good.
And that's the goal, right? The goal was always to get it above 2%. Trend was 2%. How
I've
do we
been
get
told
it higher?
repeatedly that the economy is horrific. So this is...
I mean, parts of it are. Manufacturing, not so good. Not just here. We'll look at Japan today, too.
This is surprising news.
So for part...
I say that somewhat sarcastic.
Well, I know you... Look, for part of the population, it is horrific. For those without financial assets. So consumer net worth is up $50 trillion in 4 years since the beginning of COVID. And essentially that's...
Say that again?
$50 trillion.
With a T.
With a T.
Yes.
So again, this is something we've been talking about for a long time. The bottom cohorts, the bottom 30, 40% especially, are getting effed right now. They're getting really screwed. But the people that are up, that own a bunch of assets, and whether it be real estate or investments or Bitcoin or whatever, they've been doing a lot better.
The T, which represents a 45% growth where we were before COVID. And that's financial assets, right?
So but that's only 44% of Americans?
That's what I'm saying. So if you own financial assets, whether it's housing or stocks, bonds, other financial assets, you're doing great.
Right.
You know, you've increased your net worth, and your net interest costs are actually, as a percentage of your income, the same as they were despite the rate hiking cycle.
Right.
So the spread's higher. So you feel richer, and the percentage of what you're paying to service your debt is the same. Unlike the government, by the way.
Yes.
But if you don't own
Yeah, good
financial
point.
assets, it is not the same economy, and you're struggling.
S&P 500, where is it at Christmas?
That is so what the market conditions currently are. If you're at the bottom cohort, life is rough, especially when you have competition from illegal immigrants that are able to get jobs and undercut costs. It's really rough. If you're in a segment that can be impacted by that, you're in a lot of pain between the inflation and just the way the world is working right now. We definitely need a release valve for these people. But for the most part, that doesn't really matter for markets. That doesn't matter for business. It doesn't, at least not here. Again, China has its own set of problems, and other parts of the world do too, and we'll go over some of that in a little bit. But let's wrap this up, and then we'll talk about the earnings and why they're not what you think they are.
Christmas, and where's it next Christmas?
So Christmas, we see it at 5,900 into the end of the year.
Okay.
It definitely exceeded our estimates.
But we're sort of there
We're there.
right now. We're there. Does that mean that we should just go on vacation at this point? Like, should we just stop, sell everything, and take a holiday?
When the Fed cuts into a soft landing or no landing, which is what we think is happening, if you look back at 6 previous examples of this,
right,
on average, the S&P is up 16% in the 12 months, and believe it or not, 44% in the 24-month.
So you think that next Christmas we have even more to go?
Doesn't mean it's a straight line. It's never a straight line. The way inflation's not a straight line on the way
Right.
down, the market's never a straight line on the way up. We just think that the conditions are such that if you look back in history,
Right.
the Fed cuts into a soft landing, the market can do quite well.
Can I just ask one final question?
And that's what's happening.
The market, or the S&P as we described, is so concentrated today relative to maybe those examples in history. And so the question is, when you're investing, when you say the market, are we just investing in the market writ large, or what would you be doing?
So essentially, the S&P is more or less a tech index, right?
Yes.
We know that, right?
Right.
And so the U.S. market is
it is.
essentially a tech index.
Right. And that's different than what it may have been in these, when people look back
Used to be manufacturing and all kinds of stuff, but yeah, it's changed a lot.
in history and say, well, 6 times before it was something else.
Yes, but there was always concentration, and there are always large stocks that drove the market.
Okay.
The reason that these stocks continue to stay where they are is because the earnings and the margins are so much higher than any other company in the market. They're just driving the whole thing. So the margins of the S&P are higher. The cash flow is higher. If you go back over 20, 30 years, it's up and to the right in terms of cash flow margins and margins on the S&P. So you can get a higher multiple out of it, which
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Cash flow margins are higher. You could get a higher multiple out of the investment. On that note, we've got something else to talk about. So again, we saw the scariness that is this chart, right? We saw the scariness that is this chart. Earning revisions, most negative since December of 2022. And that's right. I mean, that is right. They're the most negative. That's true. If you look Citigroup US earnings revision index, they're negative. That's not a lie. And if we jump over here, this isn't a lie either. Number of companies experiencing upward or downward revisions to earnings by analysts over the past 30 days. So again, if you look at this number, this is Charles Schwab, completely different source, not Citibank. And it's showing that upward revisions have plummeted over this time and that downward revisions have increased. All these things are true. They can all be true. But this is also true. What is this? This shows stocks are up 38% from where they were way over here, right, in 2021. But it says they're 19% cheaper? Wait a second. They're a better value now than they were in mid-2021? Does that make any sense? Well, yeah, it does, actually. So if you look up here, still got to get that scroll fixed. Matt Ciramonero, whatever. Since May of 2021, stocks have gotten 19% cheaper. In May of 2021, PE was 33.1x on average. Now it's 26.7. So 19% cheaper, yet over that same time, stocks have rallied 38%. How? Earnings growth, not speculation. So again, yes, we could be seeing revisions down. All these things are true, right? Like all the stuff in the other charts are true. but they're still 19% cheaper than they were in 2021. So we could still see them go up. And also, from what the lady was just saying a second ago, I didn't catch her name. I tried to catch it a couple times, didn't get it. But I'll try and go to do that later. But she, like she said, margins are up, cash flow is up, and so you can demand higher margins and higher multiples. And yet we're 19% cheaper than we were in early part of 2021. So again, we're not at this like unsustainable level. Not that you can use a PE ratio or anything like that to be able to determine whether you've reached a top in a market, because it's much more complicated than that. Like she was pointing out, if cash flows and margins are a lot higher and you've got these really big monolith tech companies that only get richer no matter what happens, that's kind of important to notate in regard to the PE ratios and what the averages look like. And also, are the top companies that are these monoliths, are they driving that average up? And then when you look underneath the curtain, it's actually not that high. I would say yes. So again, headlines can confuse you. Headlines can look scary. Headlines can tell you the sky is falling every day. If you want to find the sky falling, it's so easy to do. You can find people getting shot and murdered and raped and killed and all these horrible things happening around the world. If you want to find that stuff, you can totally find it. But there's a reason why in the investment basic portion of our market open yesterday, or actually I guess it was the market recap, why we talked about the fact that you have to look towards the builders. You have to look towards the Elon Musk. You have to look towards people that are actually trying to solve problems. Because if you look towards those, you'll be able to find the truth and signal. And if you look towards doomers, you'll always find doom. But they're rarely right. And usually when they turn into optimists, it's time to get GTFO. You know what I mean? So it's time to leave. All right, we're going to get to the economic data. We're going to go over Japan. We're going to go over Canada. We're going to go over the United States for what we do have, when we have it, which is roughly 16 minutes from now. We get the New York Empire State Manufacturing Index, and then about 25 minutes after that, we'll get Redbook. And then the consumer inflation expectations don't even come till 10. We'll see if I stick around till then. I do want to check comments real quick, and let's do this as well. We'll go ahead real quickly here, and we'll just pop over, and we'll pull up what we're seeing over here in the corner. And if we need to, if there's a ticker we need to follow today, let me know. Here's what I wanted to show you, though, just real quick. And you know what? This should actually be dragged down. This is not far enough down. Yeah, there we go. Isn't that prettier? Cover that whole space, man. All right. So one thing that I wanted to cover here, first off, I haven't moved this since yesterday. So if you believe that TA is, and, Fibonacci extensions are simply, what is it? Astrology for men, then you'd be wrong, because we're perfectly back testing this fib level to try and find support on it where we didn't before in late September. So this is beautiful. This is good. This is what you want to see. And again, guys, stick around for a while. We still have to, on top of the economic data, we're going to go over Q3 delivery estimates that Troy Teslike published. We're also going to be talking about Bitcoin and why I think it's going a lot higher. And then we're going to be talking about why the headlines are lying to you in regard to Kamala winning when we look at polling data. We'll cover that real quick too. And then I'm also going to make a point, or let JD Vance make a point, about why tariffs are needed in the United States, because we are fighting a trade war with China, and it's one we cannot afford to lose, because it could be incredibly destructive to numerous industries within our country. And they're playing dirty, and we have to too, and we have the advantage right now. So it's very, very important that we take advantage of that. So we got a lot to cover. But again, Bitcoin looking beautiful here. I think it's just doing a simple back test. I'm very excited about what it's doing right now. I don't know if it's today. I really don't care. But we're getting ready to break out. We're going to do it very soon. And I think people need to get ready for that. Let's look real quickly. We're going to add extended hours back in here on the right-hand side too. And we'll try and keep this up while we're going here. And let me pump this back. So CleanSpark did really great yesterday. Top performer. Is it a surprise that they're down 2.41% today? I would say no. MicroStrategy is up by 0.36 after being the worst performer yesterday. Is it a surprise that it's popping a little bit? I would say no, right? This is just typical oscillation. This is what happens. Now, BABA sunk again overnight. China is in so much pain, guys. I was literally watching stories of investors, young people that are trying to take out loans and put money into the markets there, hoping that this was the time that China was going to revive, because they've been listening to all this propaganda saying, it's our time, guys, we're coming back. And then they put their money in the markets and they lose it again, just like they've been doing for 25 years. So it's really, I feel bad for people like that. Really bad. But we'll leave this open. TMF doing the best today. That's because it's the 3X of TLT, a 20-year bond fund. And then Square doing all right. Google doing all right. SoFi continuing its run above $10. Absolutely beautiful to look at. MSTX, uranium's up a little bit. So nothing too crazy today in regard to all those things. But let's get back to it here. Let's keep going down the line. So we got that up. We can watch that now, and we can see what's going on there. I'll actually probably, you know what I'll do? I'll put this down here and put it in its usual space. That way you guys can see it, because I do think there's value there. I should probably have that set up each time, because I think that's pretty cool to be able to see everything happening in the backdrop. And if you want it to be something else, we can have it be that too. That is the joy of technology. We can do all kinds of fun stuff. All right, so let me go to the stock here. Let me add this real quick. Give me 1 second, guys. And then I'll get caught up on chat too while we watch this kind of coast along. All right, right here it looks like. We'll take this, and you guys probably don't need that. And then we'll go back over here. And you know what? Maybe I'll just do this too. We'll have a bunch of stuff broadly running across the screen right now. And we'll put this on pre-market while I get caught up in chat. If you guys have anything new that's happening today too, any major news events that you want to make sure I'm covering, throw them out there. Again, I don't think it's crazy that NVIDIA is down today with a great run it had. Energy and minerals, woof, that's another tough day for that sector, huh? Health and services taking a hit. Tesla up 0.28%, still trying to bounce. Industrial services not doing so good. All right, so let's just scroll up here, and I will start reading off what people have to say, and then we'll go into more and more economic data and all the fun stuff that we have to look at today. All right. Wow, you guys talk fast. You guys got lots of stuff to say today. Investor Reality says CleanSpark looks like it will teleport to 20 within a month. I think it could get to 32 within 2. That's pretty good. Victor Hernandez, good morning. Dennis Neuber, morning, everyone. Albert, doing great. Thanks. Hope your morning is awesome, too. Dylan, good, because I listened to you and sold my MSTX. Well, hopefully that doesn't go up a lot today, because then you'll be cussing my name. Again, I think Bitcoin's going up, so MicroStrategy can go up. Here's my worry. When you have the NAV, the premium to NAV as high as it currently is, and it's a little better today, right? It got pretty juiced yesterday. We'll see if Michael Saylor ended up selling any. But it's at 2.47x right now. So again, historically still high for the last several years. Because if you look over here at some of these, that's 2021, that's 2021, that's 2021, that's 2021, 2021, 2021, 2021, all 2021. So all these others where it's really high over here, guys, they're 2021. So this is 2024. These are 2024, right? Some of these recent ones up here. But still, from where we were yesterday, we're at a very high valuation compared to recent history when this market cap is a lot higher. So that's just the gist of it. It's just there's risk there, and I think you can get better returns in things like CleanSpark and potentially Bitfarms, Mara, smaller caps, right? Caps that are significantly smaller than MicroStrategies, and that's what I'm trying to get across. Also, I tried my first chapter video using Descript. I kind of hated it, and it didn't work very good. Evidently, 3-hour-long videos are not easily transmitted with Descript. I think I need a Mac Studio too. I need like a $12,000 Mac just to really have some crazy equipment to make things really fast, because my attention span is so short. I might have admin wife. She's going to take a stab at it and see if she could do better. Wouldn't surprise me if she could. But if that all works out, we can get rid of the cuss words. We can get rid of all the filler words, which I'm trying to actively get rid of myself to save processing power. and just to make it easier on myself or my wife, right? And then also just, again, clean them up, consolidate, maybe make them smaller, publish more to broaden the audience and make it easier for you guys. It did a pretty good job with the chapters, I got to admit, but it was just so laborious because of the sheer size, and it wasn't easily done. So trying to figure out a process there. Still haven't, I downloaded audio stabilizing equipment too to try and get it to where I can have all the audio like not blast you guys out. I haven't quite figured that out yet. There are a number of tools out there. I just need to understand them really well. What are the best, all that kind of stuff. So I'm using Poe and trying to find as much as I can in regard to these subjects. We will get better and better. And right now we've got about 8 minutes until that next set of economic data. JT, your AM video is helpful, Jesse. Since it's a nighttime for me, I can join live. That's awesome. Glad to hear it, buddy. Casper Holt, morning, Jesse. Are you bullish? I am. I'm still bullish, guys. I know it doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't either, because the CNN Fear and Greed Index is still right at extreme greed. And the crypto index, and I almost got Brave to work on here to get rid of the ads, and it did seem pretty slick. I don't know. I've got to figure that out. I didn't like some of the problems. There were some issues that came in with Brave. I was just trying to test it out, so that didn't work either. But, that's how it works, guys. I'm great at failing, right? So I have to try a bunch of things and figure out what's the best because my OCD demands it. And eventually I get the new thing. And so I'll just keep trying to do that with you guys. And I still haven't updated my portfolio. I'll work on it. But the Fear and Greed Index for the crypto side, 65. So we went from neutral to greed very, very quickly on this one. And I don't think that's going to hold too much. I think we will go down just a little bit. And then set up for launch, because I think we're at launch. We're really close to launch, guys. So it'll be a fun road. All right, let's keep reading here. JT, keep going. Poo-poo train. Do you guys know how Trump plans on lowering energy prices? He doesn't plan. So yeah. I should say that he does plan on lowering energy prices by greater than 50%. He hasn't given all the details of how he's going to do that. Really, though, it sounds like overproduction, and that there's going to be incentives for energy production, and that's it. And building out infrastructure in the United States. We don't have all the details of what that'll be, but it's going to be probably a handout from the government to be able to do it. That's how it works. So you have to incentivize these companies to be able to produce a bunch of energy. And here's what will probably happen, which is interesting. The sources for the energy production will probably still be a decent amount of renewable. I know that sounds crazy, but if you're an oil company and you have incentives from the government to produce more energy, you're going to do that for sure. But Trump has also indicated that he's not necessarily biased towards one particular kind of energy. He wants to support all of them. So I could see some of these companies talking about maybe nuclear facilities, and I could see them talking about renewable energy facilities because they want to diversify away from the one thing that's made them a bunch of money in the past. So they would probably take these incentives and they would produce more. Oddly, I know it sounds weird, but they would probably produce more of whatever they can to diversify their risk and get them more prepared to survive in the future. So, but there'll be massive incentives. The great thing about that is, though, you can look at the GDP of a country, and when you look at energy production, you can see the GDP follow it. Now there are circumstances where that might not be true, and I would say that one of them is probably going to be what's happening with China right now. All right, let's keep going. And you did say here too, you said growing production plus geopolitical stability plus incentives plus subsidies sounds a hefty cut, like a hefty cut. It'll be a positive. If you can lower energy prices, the base cost of everything, it'll be a positive for the economy. Mario, Cyber Jesse, thank you for the warning. I sold out of MSTR and MSTX with outstanding profits and rolled into CLSK and Mara and IRA. Yeah, if you don't have to worry about like taxes a lot, then that is a great way to play this. Especially like if you're in an IRA, that's what I would be doing, and that's what I did. All right, I sold MSTX maybe a day too early, and then I bought a bunch of these others that have a higher multiplier and then a smaller market cap, and you want that, man. You definitely want that. You want to get max multipliers right now. Actually, you wanted max multipliers a year and a half ago, but you want pretty high right now with the recent drop. Poo-poo train and oh yeah, sorry. Good morning, people. David Chapinda. BTC needs a breath to way oversold on 4-hour RSI. Yeah, it just needs a breather. I agree. Ryan, morning, everyone. The Duke, there is. I like that. All that money printing had to go somewhere. Yep, it goes into markets. It goes into everything. Initially, it went into products because everybody was locked into their houses. When you were locked into your house and you have massive amounts of incentives, China was the best benefactor of that over the short term, right? and because people bought products. And then the markets also went along with it because that's what assets do. Some people spend their money, other people try and turn it into more. AAM, Wolfspeed secures $750 million U.S. grant to boost EV chip production and expand manufacturing capacity. I don't know Wolfspeed very well. We can look at that. We can glance real quickly just because it's a news-related event. So I'll give them a chance. Let me just throw it up over here. I don't know what Wolfspeed is, though. Maybe actually I should look at, before we do that, let me just hop over here. We'll look at this for a second, guys, and then we'll get back to it. All right, Wolf. So this is what this company looked like before this contract. Bleeding money. $864 million in net income losses off of $807 million in revenue. It takes a lot to lose that much money. Free cash flow looks horrific. It looks the worst I would have ever guessed for any company, ever. That's pretty bad. Semiconductors, Durham, North Carolina. So they got a contract, $750 million. Well, that should, the way they can burn money, that should last them like a quarter. So we don't really have much in growth in the way of estimates. It's still kind of flat from where it was in 2019. Short interest is growing massively. It's at 31%. That's just a huge number. So it could pop off, but man, that looks bad. We do see institutional ownership going up, but they're going into everything that has the word chip in it. So does that really mean much? I don't know. Let's look at the stock for shits and giggles real quick. Let's look at this stock and just see how bad the damage is. I'm going to put this up for this one. I don't think I have this, so I'm actually just going to make a copy real quick. But you got me interested on this one. Let's look at it. Now, again, guys, when you have things like this, especially if you like to chase things that have just had a news event that's very positive, you'll find that I tend to shit on those pretty decently. And there's a reason for it. Because just because something's up 26% after hours doesn't mean that it's going to rock and roll, and it doesn't mean it's a good deal. And so this $750 million contract, like that's a good reason for it to bounce. Peak resistance is at 23. Do I even think it can get there? I don't know. Probably not. Maybe. People are stupid. It's hard to know. But you have resistance, really strong resistance by 16. I wouldn't chase something like this, even though on the monthly time frame, it is an overbought, right at the edge of overbought territory. So you could chase it, but I don't know. I would have to understand at a fundamental level why is this company trading the way that it is, or why are the financials as horrific as they are? Why are they as horrific as they are? And is this a real shift in this company? Without that, I just wouldn't feel confident about it at all. So that's my take on that. Let's keep reading real quick, and then we'll get back over. We do have, we got about less than a minute for this other data. Let's look at Japan while we wait here. It looks like Canada's coming out, and again, New York, Empire State Manufacturing. Japan is not great. If we look over here, capacity utilization, so just like, are they fully utilizing their capacity? Dropped again. It's not a great number. If we go out to max time frame here, we're near some of the lows outside of major events like the pandemic, like the 2008 great financial crisis. So Japan still isn't seeing anything good. And this is August data, actual, I think it's August. Let me just go back over here. Yeah, August data. And it's down negative 5.3%. Previous was 2.5 up. Forecast was negative 1.3. So worse than expectations, and really just a horrific visualization of how much Japan has fallen. Now, I do believe there are reasons for this. I think most of this is because of China. China's doing overcapacity across the world to try and destroy the world and make them fully dependent upon their manufacturing, which is why we're getting away from it, right? Is because we know they're doing this and we know how bad this could be for us. So we're trying to get away from it. So if we look here, industrial production too, year over year, it's negative 4.9%, still in negative territory. Again, just not great looking. One could argue maybe in this chart that there's potential that it could get better under industrial production, like there's a higher low occurring. But it was negative 4.9, right within forecast. Good morning. All right, let's see. Do we have our data yet? Nope, still grinding. Let me just refresh. Maybe it'll come up. No, we did. New York Empire State Manufacturing, and then we'll go back to Canada. Negative 11.9, consensus 3.8, forecast 4. So manufacturing in the U.S. not sitting good. We've known that for a while, right? This is why it's really important to have Donald Trump win the presidency. And this isn't just a political statement. This is because our manufacturing is getting destroyed by China. And if we don't implement tariffs, and I'm actually going to play some videos in a second here that illustrate my thoughts behind this. They're from J.D. Vance, but he's right. If we don't fight this trade war that we're in with China, if we don't fight it and use the power we have now, it could really hurt us later. They're working very dirtily to try and destroy the world. And when it comes to like vehicles, they want to own the industry, own the EV industry, and energy production. They want to own that too. They're producing a ton. They're deeply indebted right now. There's a lot of dangers for them in what they're doing, but we can't let them win this, because if so, our dependency on manufacturing in China will only be worse, and we can't have that. We also have, it looks like we have Rick. We're going to listen. We're going to jump into here real quick. We're going to save this. We do want to hear his thoughts on some of this in a second here, but I just want to get it up real quick. But let's go back over here. So this is bad, and it's or I should say it's better. Is it better? Let me go back. Was that negative or plus? Wait. Oh yeah, that was the previous. It's not showing on the other screen. So yeah, the last one, and there's fluctuation here. So let's go over this again. So we had a really strong impulse up last month of 11.5, and then this one we're down a decent amount. Overall trend is up since like December, like late 2023, early 2024. But this is a retracement, and we want it to go higher. We need it to go higher. We need more manufacturing in the United States. If we don't have it, we're going to be incredibly dependent on China, and it will give them way more power than we want them to have. Now, before I jump into that, I do want to go back. Again, there's a bunch of stuff in here that I want to cover. And so for anybody who's coming in late, you know that stocks are cheaper today than they were in 2021, and that by 19% cheaper at the beginning, first half of 2021 than they were, or than they were back then. So that's awesome. We've seen such strong earnings that the multiple is cheaper than people would have thought. And then at the same time, we can see cash flow and margins just keep going up, which demands a higher multiple. So not only is the multiple lower than it was, but it can go higher than that too, based upon what we've seen with earnings, even though headlines would have you running for the hills and fearing that the worst is happening. So always stuff to think about here. But let's go back. So we'll go back under here, under U.S. Economic. And while you guys are in here too, let me just do this real quick. If you guys could comment on here. I'm trying to get more people on X. It looks like there's a few comments in there. Really appreciate it. And I'm going to do add, remove highlights. And yeah, throw something in there. That would be great. But I do want to go down here and talk about other stuff. And let me see. I probably have it under Trump, because I was trying to keep it out of the political side. But I do think it's important to talk about, because it is not just Trump. No, that's not it. That's the DEI stuff. I don't care about that. It must be under U.S. Economic. Let me scroll down. Sorry. Oh, here's one. All right, there's one J.D. Vance. We want to look at that. I think I have another one here. Oh, maybe that's the only one I have. We'll listen to it, though. So he talks about in here how China's now has 32% of the world manufacturing. America has 18%. Let's listen to him.
We have to remember, Shannon, that we followed the advice of those congressmen for 30 years in this country. China now has 32% of world manufacturing GDP. America has 18% of world manufacturing GDP. Unless we use the power that we have economically to bring back good manufacturing, we're going to wake up in a country 20, 30 years from now where everything that we need, the pharmaceuticals that we put into the bodies of our children, the weapons of war that our troops use, are made by foreign countries that don't like us very much. The only way to prevent that, and the only way to rebuild the prosperity we had 30 years ago, is to do what Donald Trump is proposing. Well, one final point on this tariff issue, Shannon, is for 200 years, the American economic miracle was built by using tariffs when appropriate to ensure that American workers could thrive. We've gone the other direction for 30 years at the time that our middle class has been shrinking, inequality has been going up. We've tried the experiment of shipping our jobs to China and building prosperity off that. It's a failed experiment. We need to get back to the Trump approach of rebuilding the American middle class and the manufacturing sector that really is the foundation of that middle class.
So he's 100% right. Sorry for blowing your ears off. There's a reason. X does not do a good job with normalizing audio output and it just fucking sucks. And then there's other problems like with system sound, where if I tried to play the text up here with that Speechify that I was using, the audio.
Remember, Shannon, that we followed the advice of those Congress.
But there are things that I'm looking for to try and fix that. I've just got to get it fixed. The audio from that video is super loud. But again, what he's saying is right, though. We have to have a manufacturing base that allows us to be able to be competitive in the world with China, because they're dumping. The government is funding massive dumping of material on other countries so that they can destroy their sectors. Right now, they're focused on like solar panel, renewable energy sectors, and also EV. Those are the big ones, but others too, right? They've been doing this tactic for a long time, and we can't let them win that. They have to succumb to the pain that's sitting in front of them. And we have to have a program to try and pull manufacturing back to the United States, and that's what we're trying to do. And I think that's going to benefit us a lot in the future. I do want to go back though, because there's another one in here I wanted to show you guys real quick in regard to this conversation, and then we're going to look at Canadian economic data too, because I want to talk about it. That's the 32%. Okay, here's the other one. So I've got this turned down. Hopefully it doesn't blow off your ears. 1 second.
Ask yourself, okay, let's say the Chinese have a literal, and I'm not criticizing these poor people. Some of them are literally being used as slaves by the Communist Chinese Party. Let's say they can get labor for $3 a day, but we want a middle-class American to make $25, $30 an hour, because we, of course, want our people to be able to get good wages. We want them to be able to support a family on their income.
So he's saying, hey, China is making it to where they're paying slaves $3 a day. Or people that are practically slaves, right? They could be literal slaves. They could be Muslim Uyghurs or just prisoners that are Chinese, but have been imprisoned for whatever crime they want. I mean, whatever China wants to do. It doesn't have to be fair. And they can make these people work for nothing, which gives them a strategic advantage against other industries that are going to pay 100 times that. So if we want to be able to offset that, we need to fight China with the power that we have, which is tariffs. And it sucks because people look back at the 20s and 30s and they're like, oh, we implemented tariffs and that's what caused the Great Depression. To a degree, that is true. But it's also something that this time around would work towards our benefit, because we don't need to have all the manufacturing in China. And it's not like we'd be implementing tariffs against the entire world. We're strategically doing it against our enemies that are trying to destroy us in a trade war and destroy our industries. And we'd be fighting that while pushing industries away from China and towards other parts of the world that could benefit their economies. So we could actually see a resurgence across the world economically while China suffers. And this has been my mantra for a long time. But let's listen to the rest of what J.D. Vance has to say. I do agree that we have to implement tariffs, and I don't think it's the Great Depressionary type environment that would occur. And so I just want to make sure I'm clear on where I sit there. And let's listen to his comments.
We don't want them to be paupers in their own country. So how do we compete with, if the Chinese are paying slaves $3 a day and an American worker is earning 100 times that, which they should? The answer is tariffs. The only way.
It's the only way.
Because here's what a tariff does. A tariff says.
And quick note, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris didn't remove any of Trump's tariffs. Even though they're trying to say now, oh, tariffs are bad. It's like a tax on the U.S. labor for blah, because they can't buy the goods for cheaper. We also don't want these countries to destroy our economy, right? That's probably the more important thing, not just somebody being able to get a cheap, shitty product from China. So it's very important that we have tariffs in place if we want to be able to counter that. And then at the same time, you could still buy a Tesla, which is going to be an awesome car that is lowering the prices of all these vehicles every month anyway, because they're having to compete against a brand that's so far superior to them. So we can help American companies. We can help manufacturing in the United States. We can fight off what China's trying to do. And the only way we can do that is with tariffs. And there's a reason why Biden and Harris didn't remove them before, because they work and they're important and we need them. But they're also trying to use it for their political campaign to say this is bad and you can't do it. But it's wrong.
Says if you're going to make that product using slave labor in China, then we're not letting it come back into our country unless you pay a big fat penalty. That's what a tariff is. And when Kamala, look, when Kamala Harris goes against tariffs, and she attacks tariffs all the time, what she's effectively saying is we are going to let slave laborers build products and then bring it into our country, undercutting the jobs and the industries of America. We've got to cut that crap out, protect our businesses, but most of all, protect American working men and women. We got to make more stuff in America. That is what Donald Trump will do. Thank you.
I'm sorry. That's brilliant. That's exactly what we need to do. It's exactly what we need to do. If you're just objective and look at it, this is what needs to happen in the United States. I'm sorry. It just is. All right. Let me go back over here. So I want to look at economic data, excuse me, coming out of Canada, because their situation is just to the north of us. So how are they doing? Are they faring well? I'm going to say no, but let's just take a look. Oh, and we have India up here too. Let's look at that first, actually. India vehicle sales. Not too much to really report here. They're still kind of on a strong pace. Maybe a little slowed down since the 2006-17 range, but you got to remember what China is doing. So if you offset what China has been doing and just how they're crushing these markets, and let's actually look at that. That's a super important thing to talk about. Just one over here real quick. Right here. Look at this, right? China trade in finished vehicles, autos mostly, Chinese customs data, trailing 12-month sums, USD billions. Exports finished autos in red are China. Imports finished autos are black. So you can see how they've done nothing to import autos from the rest of the world. So Europe is not benefiting from this. But at the same time, look at what China's done since December of 2020. It's almost like when the pandemic happened, they decided, you know what? Let's kill the entire auto sector and run it all. And so that's what they've done. Can you see how this puts other companies that are building autos at a disadvantage? They're trying to destroy this market and completely consume it. If you want China to run the world, then let this happen. Vote Kamala Harris. If you don't want China to run the world, then vote Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, somebody who actually has a plan to bring manufacturing back to the United States. And we need it desperately, right? Because that ain't good. And we also don't need to be cracking down on the rich, which is what China is doing right now. Also bad. And then Xi Jinping in a video yesterday from CNBC, Eunice Yoon in China, I love her. She indicated that Xi Jinping doesn't like all these like social programs where people are just leeching off the system. And it just made me laugh because that's literally what communism is supposed to be, is a bunch of socialized programs and sharing of resources and this centrally controlled government that makes everything better. But Xi Jinping knows that he needs capitalism, but he hates capitalism because he thinks it's the West. He seems very conflicted. But let's read this here. China's target ultra-rich with new tax enforcement. China is cracking down on the ultra-wealthy, enforcing a long-overlooked 20% tax on overseas investment gains. Wealthy individuals are being summoned by tax authorities to assess payments, part of President Xi's common prosperity push. With fiscal revenue down 2.6% this year, land sales are dropping 25%. The government is seeking new ways to boost revenue amid a slowing economy. Offshore assets, especially for those holding over $10 million, are in focus. So they're trying to A, slow down capital flight, B, get more tax revenue from anybody who's having to move business overseas to be competitive because of geopolitical risk or whatever. They're trying to basically tax these companies more, which will hurt their local economy more while helping the central government barely band-aid their local government financing vehicle debts. And they're heavily indebted, 340% debt to GDP right now. One of the worst in the world, the worst in the world for a developed nation, like a really big nation. And so this is going to be bad. It's going to be bad for China. We don't want policies like this. We don't want policies where we're trying to destroy other sectors of the world. We don't want policies where we're trying to destroy the last bit of wealth we have in our country and increase capital outflows even more while more and more people feel the door closing. We don't want policies like this. We want policies that bring work back here, that are fair and competitive with the rest of the world, and that enrich people in the United States while telling China, hey, if you're going to use slaves or try and crush industries, you're going to be punished. Because you're not the big dog right now. You're heavily indebted. You're the exact opposite of where we were in 2008. And so we have a lot more power over you right now. You're going to do that. So anyway, my thoughts on China and where we are currently. There's other stuff to talk about. Let's go back over here. So we got India. So let's go to Canada real fast. And then we do have more data. We've got the Red Book coming out in about 9 minutes. We should get done with the Canadian economic data between now and then I'll get back to chat. Canada's inflation rate year over year, September, 1.6%. Isn't this amazing? I've been talking about this for a while now, but this country now is getting ready to drop in sub 1% inflation. That is frightening. If you look over here, you can see where that happened during a pandemic. You can see where that happened in the 2008 Great Financial Crisis. And you can see where Canada also had issues like that in the late 90s, or I'm sorry, mid 90s. But these are numbers that, again, they've been here before, but this is scary. You don't want to be near these numbers, these 1%. They do have that, right? Like they had that in these other time frames. But I'm saying that I believe inflation is going to continue dropping more than some people want, especially countries that are highly tied to Canada, or China, not Canada. Canada tied to China. So, and if you're in Canada and you can refute that argument that Canada is too intertwined with China, I would love to hear it. Again, I only know so much. I know data points and anecdotal evidence when it comes to foreign countries. I've done a lot of research with China, so I feel pretty confident about what's going on there. But other countries like Canada, just not as much. All right, core inflation rate year over year. So it's a little bit higher. It's 1.6 actual. The forecast was 1.5. So even though the inflation rate itself was much lower than expected for consensus and forecast in Canada, the core rate appears to be higher. And that's like food. It says excludes 8 of the most volatile components such as food, energy, and mortgage interest costs. Mortgage interest costs are not a problem in the United States. They are in Canada because they have a bunch of adjustable rate mortgages, which is stupid. And that those are hurting Canadians, and we haven't had that problem in the United States. People who own mortgages have benefited from being locked in to 30-year mortgages. So we haven't made the mistakes of 2008. Canada has, Australia has, other economies have. But again, this core inflation rate is getting pretty low. It's not negative yet, but you don't want it to turn negative. If you look over here in Canada's core inflation, it didn't get below 0.7 going all the way back to the 80s. So you don't want to see this thing dropping much harder than it is. You want to see a base getting formed in the 1% range. We'll see if it can do it. All right, CPI median year over year, 2.3% came in within line. So consumer prices in line. And if we look over here, we're still slightly higher than what we want to see historically. I mean, these guys have been in the 1s and the 2s. Consumer prices, we actually don't mind if those are lower. So we would like to see this coming down. Some of the other inflation data, it actually can be positive. It can show that a strong economy with growth, but we don't necessarily have that. It looks like Kyle Bass is talking too on CNBC. We're probably going to jump to him in a second, so we'll just finish this last bit here. CPI trimmed mean year over year. I don't even know what trim mean is. Let's look at that. It says it came in at actual 2.4%. Consensus was and forecasts were 2.5%. Says the trim mean core inflation rate in Canada, which is the bank's preferred measure of underlying inflation for monetary policy decision. So this is their most fabricated number. That's what we can take from this. Is still showing that they're at 2.4%. All right, wholesales month over month are negative 0.6%. That's sales, wholesale sales. It was expected at negative 1.1, and consensus was that too for forecast and consensus, but it came in slightly better than expected. So that might be derived as a good thing. I don't want to read into all of it because it's Canada. Who gives a fuck? All right. And again, we know the New York State manufacturing, this one's a little confusing. It shows down 11.9, but we also had an impulse of neutral still. And neutral, if you look at the trend, honestly, is trending up since January, right? Like if you look at, if you average this out and it's neutral, that's actually an improvement in the trend. So this isn't horrible. Contrary to kind of what I was thinking a little bit earlier. All right, in 4 minutes, we get the New York's, or we get the Red Book year over year. We'll look at that. It's not the biggest thing in the world. I'm going to get caught up with chat while we're waiting there. I'm also going to hop over here and just see what it looks like for the heat map in the morning here. It looks like it's continuing to redden. Tesla kind of flat on the day, so nothing too crazy going on. And maybe I might jump to Kyle Bass. I'm going to jump to Kyle Bass, actually, because I do want to hear what he has to say about China, especially since we were recently talking about it. And I don't care so much. I'm going to skip this one because, honestly, I do a better job with all that stuff. than those guys do. It's just seeing Rick's blood pressure boil that I love, and I love him personally. I love how Kyle Bass has an American flag in his bed. What the heck? That is hilarious. All right, so let's listen to this here real quick. They got the retaliation between Israel and Iran too. I don't mind hearing this for a second. Oh, we probably better turn this on.
White House officials confirming to NBC News that Israel has told the U.S. now that it will limit its targets in Iran if it retaliates for Iran's October 1st missile strikes to military targets, not oil or nuclear facilities. In a statement, the Israeli Prime Minister's office now saying it listens to the opinions of the United States, but that Israel will make its own final decisions based on its own national interests. You're looking at WTI crude falling in large part because maybe some of the anxieties about something like this happening, at least immediately, have gone away, or at least have subsided. The question is, I imagine there will be some form of retaliation. To me, it may very well be that there's retaliation after the U.S. election. I think that this U.S. election piece of it, we've talked to a couple of guests. I've asked that question now multiple times. I think that is a component part of this. Maybe I'm wrong.
I thought it would have.
We'll see.
Or Israel is going to do whatever they want. We'll see.
That would have been by now. And the rationale was that every day that you don't do something, Iran could have decided, all right, it's time for us to take that last step. Supposedly, they've just hesitated. They've got the material to be able to build a couple bombs, and they've hesitated. They haven't done it. And, Israel, with a pending strike, that would have forced them to do it. So I mean, to wait till past the election is just,
well, it depends.
Like time is of the essence.
If you think you're 2 weeks away.
I don't think. Do you think? So here's the thing. Do you think Israel Netanyahu gives two shibs about whether or not it hurts Biden and Harris's ability to get elected? Kamala Harris didn't even go to Congress when he spoke, even though she's the vice president, and that's like her job. She instead did a Zoom call with like a sorority talking about God knows what. So do you think Netanyahu would attack, if nothing else, just to give the middle finger to the Biden-Harris administration? I kind of do. So I don't know. Again, we are supplying them with weapons, but we need them. And everybody knows it, including Israel, right? They know that. They know we need them because they're the only real thing holding back whatever could happen in the Middle East, right? They're the only thing that keeps that from swarming. In history, if you go back hundreds, thousands of years, there are battles back and forth in that region that can be massive in scale and creep into Europe and Africa and all over the place, right? So it's like they want to support it, and if anything, I think they'd give the middle finger to the current administration. So I would completely disagree with what he was talking about there about them wanting to wait until after the election. I think it would be the exact opposite.
It's away from that.
And again, they've said, what Netanyahu said is that they won't strike nuclear and oil facilities. So maybe they don't do that, or maybe they do it in some way to like still hinder their nuclear program, but not attack those facilities.
Be able to create one of those bombs, sure.
Well, and this was already 2 weeks ago from when.
But I think there's other analysts who think it could be, would have taken months, if not a year.
We're talking China, but Kyle Bass can talk about these other things too. We've been paying close attention to the headlines.
And to be clear, Kyle has been preaching the woes and fall of China for like 10 years or something. I don't even know. So he's been early. But there's a lot of truth in what he says. And if you look at timing, I've been talking about the demise of China for like 3 or 4 years now, but I've been calling it out a ways. And now I think we're really close to it. I think 2026 is going to be a really tough time for China. And it's already started, right? But I'm talking about really, really tough and painful and non-fixable. But let's listen to him. Just to remember, he's been very early.
Around China, including government messages on.
And he hates the CCP, so he's biased like I am.
Economic stimulus and the volatile market conditions that have resulted. Also, some provocative moves about Taiwan. Yesterday, the country conducted large-scale drills around Taiwan, and what it claimed was a warning to what it called independent forces on the island. Join us now on all this, Kyle Bass, Heyman Capital Management founder and chief investment officer. We can talk about China, but a reference we might ask you about Israel. What do you make of what Israel is doing right now? Does the election have bearing on it? Are you surprised that there's been no retaliation yet, Kyle?
You know, I think that we have to turn the table just a little bit, Joe. I think that when you look at the kind of cadre of bad guys working together, you have the Ayatollah working with China and Russia. And if you notice, you know, you've got Russia being, again, increasingly provocative in the Ukraine. You have Israel and Iran at each other's throats. And now almost on cue, you see China's Xi move in with his third simulation exercise of the assault of Taiwan.
All right, I want to stop there for a second because I want to inject some truth into this because again, he really wants, not a great look for Kyle, sorry, bro. He really wants to paint this picture of they are like Iran, Russia, China, they're in bed with each other and they are trying to create a world war that they win. It's not going well though, and that's the part I want to interject on. Russia's economy is actually struggling really bad right now. And so I think a lot of the moves that happen in Russia, I think Biden played that a lot better than Putin would have assumed after what had happened with Afghanistan because it was such a clusterfuck. So Russia thought they were going to take that in 3 days. This is the dictator fallacy. And they thought they were going to go there. Putin thought he would win. He's actually had mutinies. He had a guy that wanted to overthrow him that was going to Moscow to murder Putin. I mean, this is not going well. Economically, they're not doing well. They're between a rock and a hard place. And I don't think we should have been funding this war as much as we should. I think we should be finding a resolution to it, which is why I think Trump is the better candidate. But you can't act like Russia is kicking ass in this. They're not. It's been incredibly devastating to them. I would argue that outside of all the money we're giving Ukraine, it hasn't been great for them either because they're wiping out all their young population. People that would end up producing babies and helping their economy in the future are all dead. And then there's a bunch of people that have left the country too because they don't want to go to war. So Russia and Ukraine have not won in war. Very few people do outside of the military industrial complex. But it's not going well for Russia. And I would argue that Israel and Iran is the same kind of setup. They thought, let's push the U.S. towards Israel and Iran, and when we do that, we'll weaken them on the front in Russia and Ukraine. And that really hasn't happened either because we saw Ukraine go into Russia and start invading their country, which I don't think is great either. It gets us too close to World War III. But what I'm trying to say here is Israel in one night brought in their jets and literally went all over Iran and bombed right next to their nuclear facilities, right next to their military complexes, lost 0 jets. The Iranians didn't even know they were there using these highly expensive radar systems and things that they had bought from Russia and their S-400 systems, the latest in air defense technology. And none of it worked. None of it worked. So I just want to paint this picture that the United States is actually a lot more powerful than people realize right now. And China does have the largest naval fleet in the world, but a lot of those are like regular boats and ships. And attacking Taiwan is super hard. So I want to paint this picture of my view, when we let him finish here, that we're actually doing a pretty good job fending off Russia. And I think we can end that war soon. If we just have some diplomacy, which the Biden administration literally has said they don't want to do. So I don't know why, but they don't want to end that war, even though there's a strategic advantage right now. And it's a good time to end it and then establish peace with Russia because we want Russia to not be under the ball sack of China because that's not helpful at all. If we have one of the largest nuclear powers on earth, somebody that made a bomb that could wipe out all of France and other parts of Europe in one shot, we don't want to get them too angry at us. We want that to come to an end. Putin isn't going to be around forever. We need to look towards future generations. We've weakened their military significantly, and we need to get them away from China. And then at the same time, we need to help Israel in this thing with Iran. And I do think that they're gonna attack, and it's going to be very powerful. Okay, it's going to be very powerful. I think that's happening no matter what. But I just want to paint this picture that I don't think China has the upper hand right now based upon these other 2 wars that are ongoing and not going well. Okay? So just realize that. Yeah, they could take out all of France with one bomb. One bomb, whole country incinerated, fallout into Russia and all across Eastern Europe. Like, do we want that? I don't want that. All right, let's listen to Kyle.
In the last, call it 2 years. So, it is unfortunately hinging right around the U.S. election on November 5th. But, today being October 15th, and you've got all of them working together, Joe, if you were on the other side and you were trying to open up potentially 3 fronts of militaristic action headed into a U.S. election, now is actually when you would do it. So I don't find the timing to be that surprising to anyone. I just think that Israel is going to act and defend itself as it should.
Yep.
Israel is going to move on, maybe the energy targets, but certainly the nuclear targets across Iran now.
I do agree. Nuclear power or facilities where they're building nuclear weapons are still very much strong targets, in my opinion. And again, not like just to slow them down, not to wipe out all their infrastructure, but they've done this before. Israel has done this multiple times. They did it with Iraq. They've done it throughout history where they've basically destroyed or slowed down the nuclear capability of another country in the Middle East. Israel has at least 500 nuclear weapons. They might have a lot more because they've got an amazing amount of uranium reserves.
Because they absolutely have to. They're going to need the U.S.'s help on one specific target, and the rest of them, I think Israel can take on their own. The question is, do they defer to the current administration and wait until after the election?
They do not care.
I find the comments from the Israeli PM to be suspect.
I do too. I think they're lying. I think they're lying about what they're going to do. I know that sounds insane, but that gives them an advantage, right? Like that gives them an advantage over their enemy if they can literally do that right now and go after them.
Yeah. And I don't know whether it's sources or what that say that Netanyahu or Israel has agreed to just focus on military, not energy or nuclear facilities. So you doubt the veracity.
Yeah, it's like a football game where they're like, hey, guys, here's the play we're going to do, honest to God, and then they go this way.
Veracity of that, or you just are you think it's suspect?
I mean, if you think about how this gets leaked to the press, it's someone in the Biden administration releasing what I believe to be their hopes. Right. If I were Netanyahu, would I tell the other side what I was going to limit my strikes to? I actually wouldn't. And so I don't know. I just don't know if what we're hearing is going to end up proving to be true.
I agree.
And you think
it's a nice way of saying lie.
Iran is still is it important what China and Russia are intimating to Iran at this point, or do you think they would move ahead and go ahead and do that final step to being nuclear capable, or not?
Look, it's a complex situation. We all know that the Ayatollah for many years has said it's been haram to actually possess a nuclear weapon, and that's what the IAEA has kind of, let's say, hung their hat on. And the IAEA recently has said, kind of, all bets are off. We don't know if what they're doing in the nuclear program can be deemed to be peaceful anymore. And so you've seen the IAEA.
It never was. It never was. Why did we give them billion? So again, I think Biden did good as far as keeping Russia at bay with Ukraine, right? And I think they did good in supporting Israel, even though the narrative from liberals is definitely do not support Israel right now. But why did we literally allow them to be able to? Why did we send them money, Iran? And why did we make it easier for them to be able to do more and more funding for terrorist organizations over time? It doesn't make sense that we would allow them to be able to just start all this up again. And they obviously aren't good guys. They're in league. They're the league of evil with China, with the CCP, with Vladimir Putin, and with Iran. So, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
EA back away. You've seen Iran start to spin this up. And our own belief is that they can have a nuclear weapon in 6 months or less. And
so we can't allow that to happen. Now is the time to attack.
So the question is for Israel, given the direct.
And we know Israel can do it because they literally went after all these facilities in one night and bombed right near all of them to show them that they could wipe them out. And their S-400 systems and radar systems didn't work at all, at all. And Iran had to play down what had happened the day before because none of it worked.
Attacks that Iran
This is the axis of evil, guys.
Has made on Israel itself. Israel now, I think, is going to have to exercise its right to defend itself and eliminate the potential of an Iranian nuclear weapon. So I think when you see the...
Oh, sorry. That's the feed. I don't know why, but it's hiccuping a little bit. Maybe they rolled over to a new show. I'm going to let it try and continue here so it doesn't get bounced. But I 100% agree with them while we're waiting here for this thing to feed. I 100% agree that now is the time to strike. It will happen. Israel will not allow Iran, a country that has been funding terrorism all around them, the north in Lebanon with the Hezbollah, Hamas to their south, and then every shade in between on their borders. When you're looking at, Jordan and Syria, all these places, they're helping fund all of this, right? They want to destabilize and destroy this region around Israel, and they like the river to the sea. They want to wipe them out. They want genocide against this country. So it's not crazy to realize that maybe they need to defend themselves and go after them if they're 6 months away from having nuclear power. I'm going to try and refresh this. I'll probably lose it. And I could go back though and see. Get past these yahoos. There we go. All right, let me see if I can get on the right spot.
The Cold War. He's embarrassed that Russia lost the Cold War, and he's trying to put... I think it's clear.
I think our enemies are aware of the perhaps the vacuum, the power vacuum.
Oh, I mean, I think it's clear that they're aware, Joe. I think, look, if you were one of our enemies, again, put yourself in their shoes, and if you knew that Putin's life mission is to basically change the result of the Cold War. He's embarrassed that Russia lost the Cold War, and he's trying to put Mother Russia back together again. You saw the leader of Lithuania say, if Russian troops set foot in Lithuania, they're going to strike 300 miles into Russia. Like, that was an interesting comment just in the last week. You have a NATO country saying this. So you have...
Russia is in no capacity to attack their neighbors, whether it be Poland, Lithuania, or anybody. They just don't have it.
An administration that, again, without being partisan, if you were to choose out of the last 20 presidential administrations, who would you choose to bring militaristic belligerence against or move on the global chessboard and hope there wasn't a retaliatory strike? I would move against this one.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. It's why they did that. But it hadn't played out well. They saw how weak he was in Afghanistan. They saw people falling off the bottom of these planes trying to save their own interpreters that worked for the U.S. military that were desperate to be taken with because they knew that, and we promised them we would, but we didn't. They knew that their families would be murdered and that they would be tortured and murdered, and they were trying to come along for the ride, and they were so desperate to come with that they fell off the wheels of these massive carrier planes while they were trying to take off because they just needed to leave. And it's super sad, but they saw that happen, that horrificness in Afghanistan, and then they were emboldened, but it hasn't turned out well. And that's the twist where I think conservatives or Republicans don't want to admit is that these things aren't going well for them because they would rather support narratives that go against Joe Biden. And I get it. I mean, you don't like him. He's bad for the whatever. You're gonna focus on that. But I do think, though, that it's important to acknowledge that these are not going well and to focus on reality. So that's good. So that's good because it lessens the chance that these guys can do more over the short term.
You've got a lame duck president. You have a VP that has no popularity whatsoever.
He's right about all this.
That doesn't truly understand geopolitics, let's say.
Yep.
And now's the time.
You know why? Because she grew up in a middle-class household.
Now's the time of the most division and the most, let's just say, the most amount of unknowns in our administration are there today. Right. And it's the most vulnerable time in the United States at this moment in time.
All right.
100. Well said. Again, his narrative paints it a little more bleaker than I think it should be because he really wants to nail in this point. that China, Russia, and Iran bad, and I agree with all of that. It's just how powerful are they right now. That's a very important part of that puzzle. I do agree with everything he said about Israel too. I think they're going after it. I wouldn't trust what they're saying right now. I think you'd have to be pretty stupid too. All right, so we do have more. So we got the market opening in 18 minutes. We do have the Red Book data, so let's look at that real quick. Again, this is just retail sales for like 8,000 or 9,000. What was that number? Someday I'll memorize this. For 9,000 stores, represents 80% of equivalent office retail sales, series collected and published by the Department of Commerce. And so on this report, it looks like we have another uptick here. Let's see real quick. So that was, I just want to make sure it says 5.6%. So a 0.2% revision or outperformance compared to last time. And this looks great because, again, since about June of 2023, where we bottomed, we've actually been going up. So retail sales still appear to be good, guys. That's going to be good for retailers. And it's just another sign that the economy is not falling apart, albeit that is a positive or a popular narrative right now. Again, I wanted to talk about other stuff. We're going to jump around a little bit and have some fun. Down in the bottom corner, if you guys want to see everybody thanking me for getting out of MSTX yesterday, just remember it is up 4.33% today. So hopefully you still got out at a higher number. Things can fluctuate. So MicroStrategy can still go up if Bitcoin goes up a lot. I just think it's going to underperform all these other miners. So remember that. And even though MSTX is up 4.33% today and CleanSpark is only saying 1.57%, you got to remember how much CleanSpark ran yesterday. It was pretty crazy. So what did we go up yesterday? 12.75%. So that little bit of retrace or that little bit of underperformance is not a big deal. Okay. And just remember that things can still fluctuate. So don't be like angry at a week if all of a sudden MSTR is still doing better and maybe overperforms these miners for another week. It doesn't matter. It's all going in that direction. That much I can tell you. All right, so let's look. Troy Teslike, he had data out for Q3 for Tesla. And in this data, it's very interesting. If we look over here, you can see that, let's just look at the totals. So Q1, 387,000 vehicles. Q2, 444,000 vehicles. Q3, 462,890 vehicles. So we still have an almost 20,000 vehicle increase, and compared to Q1, it's beautiful. So Tesla is still outperforming and doing great. What is that going to mean for their finances? We know energy didn't perform as well. High margin business, very high margin business, their highest right now, honestly, or really close to it. And so we know because they didn't have the deployment schedule working really well because of seasonality probably and a number of other factors. But here's what we do know. If we look at the trends for previous vehicle sales, we can see that Model Ys came in pretty much in line with Q2 totals, 290,263 versus 291,316 in Q2. So those are about the same. Model 3s did a lot better. They were up 18,700 for the number that were produced. And again, everybody's loving the Model 3. We know the U.S. too has underperformed because the U.S. in Q1 or in Q2 had 110,118 in sales. This time around, or I'm sorry, that was just for the Model Y. Let's do the totals. 167,717. But this time around, we're only doing 157. So we have dropped roughly 10,000 units in Q3. We've got seasonality playing a part of that. And also, it's just a matter of like ramp probably for the Cybertruck is another key part. We've got S and X sales being weakened. You can see how they've dropped in the United States to almost 4,000 quarter over quarter because of the fact that the Cybertruck is taking more demand. So the ramp is going to be interesting, seeing how much of the profits that have they gotten to profitability on the Cybertruck yet. If they haven't, this could be a drag on Q3. And again, but even though we're seeing numbers that are like almost 20,000 units higher, a lot of that is coming out of China, which is going to be a lower margin part of the business, in my opinion. So you'll see that, again, just not be as strong. Even though, and look at China here. So 146,630 for Q2, 182.43 for Q3. So I do think that with Q3 earnings, there could be some downside risk. And I think that the 200 level is the support area for Tesla if that happens. And if we look over here, We'll just, again, shrink this up. I got it down in the bottom corner. But you can see where we're still holding on to support. And again, this doesn't have to happen, but I don't think it would be crazy on next Wednesday's earnings to potentially see some fall down to the 200-ish range where we find a very strong level of support from a downward 200 moving average on the daily time frame. I think that's an incredibly strong layer of support and will be the bottom. Now, could for a second or something, could it wick even lower? Heck yeah, we could go down to like 190 maybe if we want to. But this is not something I'm worried about. This is something I'm kind of hoping happens because I would like to see a 13% drop in Tesla's stock price that could give me potentially a 30% drop in options. And if Bitcoin is popping at this time, I can buy into that. And then I can ride this bitch back up. So again, I was hoping and what could happen here? A double bottom, a W bottom. Like, look at this. Boom, boom, and then launch. And I would be okay with that. I would be perfectly okay with that. I don't mind it at all. And technically, it could still be, if it did that and it only dropped to like the 200s or the 199 or something like that kind of range and found support, then, I mean, realistically, we would still have this inverse head and shoulders in play, which gives us a measured move up to 490. So I still like the setup, and I want it to go lower. That's where my bias is right now, just so you guys know. Les Walker said BTC is pushing 56,000 again. I love that. I don't hate that at all. Let's just check over here. It looks like it wants to. Like I said earlier, what are we seeing over here, guys? We're seeing that we found support for the first time since back over here in July of 2024. We've found support on this moving average, or I'm sorry, this fib extension. And if you look over here, we really hadn't found support. If you look over here, it was brief. We just fell through. If you look over here, we fell through. If you look over here, it's really been April of 2024 and July of 2024 where we have found support at this level. So this will be the third time on this time frame. What are we on? The daily, where we're finding support. So this is good. This is a really good sign. It means Bitcoin's probably going up. And I would love to see a 40% increase in Bitcoin because I've got things that can go up 300% potentially if that happens, right? Actually 400 with the CleanSpark options in play, it could be 400 plus, 400 to 500% I could make if we get to 92,000 here in the next like several months, which I think is super high probability. So I love 400 to 500% in gains. That gives me a lot of Tesla buying power. And maybe with that buying power, I even push it out further and go, I don't know. I'll probably still do June of 2026, honestly. I'm not going to lie. Probably do June of 2026. Maybe I'll do another contract, though. We'll see. I'll let you guys know. But so I'm very excited about what's happening with Tesla. And Bitcoin, again, could provide that buying opportunity in Tesla that I've so wanted. So I'm very excited about that, too. So Tesla, so we're looking at Q3. We're trying to see what happens. I also wanted to talk about Bitcoin and reserves on exchanges. So if you look here in purple, you can see the amount of USDT reserves. These are Tether tokens on exchanges. And you can see what happens as you can see how we build up massive amounts. And then in some cases, it doesn't matter. We still see a drop, right? You can still see over here. Actually, if you look historically, I would argue that these do run ahead, and you can see that. And you could see it if you zoomed in more over here. You could see where, again, right here, the reserves for USDT skyrocketed before the price actually started to take off again. And so you could see that a lot throughout history. I would argue over here, though, we had an issue where we never really got our big moment because of the Fed raising rates at the most aggressive rate in history. But again, look over here. Look at the reserve requirements here and how they skyrocketed and just kept climbing. And it was up until here before we really started to see the price move in Bitcoin. So you can see how these usually lead. Not the best chart for it, but they usually lead, and we can see them climbing now. And Bitcoin's price action will come later. So again, if you guys haven't already, jump into here, throw in a comment. Biggest event happening today. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to put that in there. But yeah, anything you can do here helps support and promote the channel. Love that. All right, I'm going to try and get caught up in comments. Again, we've got about 9 minutes until the market opens. We've got the ability to be able to see extended hours in the bottom right-hand corner. We're also following Bitcoin's price action, which looks strong and like it's finding support. And we can see MSTX being the leader right now with Cypher mining right behind it, MicroStrategy underneath, of course, and then TMF, SoFi, CleanSpark, Mara, Square, Iron, Hood, TLT, Google. Like there's a decent amount of performers today. Even looks like Tesla's up 0.5% and Palantir's up 0.35. So a lot of stuff doing all right. What's doing bad today? Let's just look here real quick and then we'll go to comments. So BABA, again, not looking good at all. I actually want to real quickly just pull up BABA and take a look at this stock. And again, it just makes me sad because there's people in the West and people in China that are throwing in money because people are being irresponsible and indicating like, oh, China's nothing but up from here. And like I said, I said it was going to reject. I said we get rejections off the Hang Seng Index and other indicators on the 200 moving average on the weekly time frame. That's what's happening. Could we find support? We're right down here now, guys, because it's pre-market for them right now. We're down 3.76%. So these guys have already, anybody who just jumped into this thing right at the top, they're already down. Let's see here. They're already down 12.5% just on BABA, and that can get a lot more painful for them. Not that China won't stimulate and try and promote their economy even more. They will. That is a guarantee. So you could have moments of maybe even going higher, but it's ultimately going to lead to wreck. Absolute wreck. Paul Hoger says WBA inverse head and shoulder and potential. I just don't care about Walgreens. I don't see enough in the fundamentals of the business. I know people are talking about it. I don't remember. Is it Invest Answers? Is it Jake? Like who's talking about it? I don't know. But I'm not interested in it. I want really good companies that I'm going to patiently wait on. That's just me. All right. So anyway, let's get caught up on comments. And then we've got that open in 7 minutes right now. The Duke says you can find someone saying crash is coming every single day. So true. John Mars, I get a ton of emails and spam using the market is going to hell. Thank God we have Micro to Macro Chief Commander Jesse pulling us out data. Love you, bro. Yeah, I'm happy to, man. Again, you just can't be doom and gloomers. You got to look towards people who actually look towards the positives and then determine if they're right. French EV boy. Hello, everyone. Jesse, I'm up 65% at MicroStrategy, reluctant to sell it. It could go a lot higher, right? X3, X4. It can, but I think it'll underperform CleanSpark and other miners. So you got to think about taxes. You got to think about a lot of stuff. Always do the math. So calculate in maybe underperformance for MicroStrategy. It could go up even a little more from here, but I'm not going to go into the deep dive. But all this stuff right here is 2024. And this is the level, the higher it goes, the more overvalued it is. All this stuff over here is 2021. So it's 3.5 years ago, where we had levels that were this outrageous. And then you got to go back to 2020 for these really stupid ones where it was up like 5-6x the NAV. But it was also very illiquid, and it was a much smaller cap, and it didn't have institutional ownership in it. So these departures from NAV will get worse and worse. And by the end of the cycle, they'll be horrible. There'll be a huge NAV crush, net asset value crush on this investment. And so you do not want to own this near the end, especially something like MSTX. It will wreck you, okay? Absolutely wreck you. All right, the Duke said, ready, my arms are shaking. I've been holding these bags so long, exaggerating. We have done pretty well on the miners already. This year has been all right. Anybody who was buying options on CleanSpark in the ones is not hating life right now. That's very true. Yes, SoFi, finally. Yeah, those bags too. Mayor Trading says, see you from Israel. What's up, buddy? The Duke, keep rolling with the econ data. Loving this format. I will. Barry M, I'm going to try and get more structured visually and just, in summarizing what's happening with the markets in the morning. I'm going to be really focused on trying to gather all data and give a clean picture of what's happening so that I can offset things like people saying that, earnings are dropping at the fastest rate since 2022 and provide perspective. Like I want to try and find the big narratives and debunk some of them or validate them. But give you guys a priority of kind of what's going on in the world. So I'll try and get better at that over time. I'm only one guy in a basement, but I'll try. Barry M, hopefully AI can help. Boeing enters $10 billion credit agreement with banks amid crippling strike. Yeah, Boeing's fucked. Boeing's such a shit company. There's this representation I had in one of these bookmarks with Boeing. And, it was probably under the Tesla section. And I thought it just did a great job. Boeing 2019, SpaceX 2019. They were creating the Hopper. There was virtually no Starlink constellation. And Boeing since then, same construct. And SpaceX is building, 30-story buildings that they're launching into space. And then they've got 7,100 satellites, soon to be 7,200 satellites in space, providing internet to the entire world. So can you see the difference in like DEI requirements for Boeing and just lack of innovation and focus on capitalism between SpaceX and Boeing? Can you see the differences here and how it ends up impacting companies and our country's future? I can. So I want our future to be a good thing. So I support companies that do great things. Call me crazy. The Duke Duke said, morning shows are where it's at, dude. Well, I hope so. Hopefully I can be better than the rest. I don't think it's too high of a bar to get past me, Kevin. Rob Group, if you're going to short BABA, what put option? I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it at all. I wouldn't touch those markets. I don't touch things where it's Cayman Islands focused and I can't actually own any of the stuff that we're talking about. I don't think it's a good idea across the board. If we go to war with them, can you even collect on your short? Can you? Rob Group, you could probably hire someone from Upwork to do it for you. Yeah, with some work, I might end up doing that. Yeah, I might end up doing that. Martin Pillich, Jesse, use AdBlock extension for your browser. I'll probably do that since Brave wasn't really working the way I wanted it to. I do like that idea. I'll try it. I love that. Okay, so I'll give that a go. The Duke is Duke. Nuclear for sure. Oh, talking about energy. Yes, sir. Max, good morning. Best market group on X. Thank you. I appreciate that. The Duker is Duke. Elon will steer him in that direction. He. Yes, he will. Chad, probably with nuclear. Yeah, I would agree with nuclear and renewable. Chad Ventures, what do you think about Microsoft currently lagging behind the SPX's performance? They've got a lot of money. I'm not too interested. I'm looking for asymmetric bets, so I don't really focus too much on it. We can look at the stock a little bit later, though, and their finances, and I can tell you if it looks like they could bounce or something. We could do that. John Mars, hit the fucking like. Excuse my language. Yeah, if you guys could hit the like, there's over 528 people here. If you guys can comment, if you can hit the like, if you can do that on X and YouTube, you'll support my work, of which I am going to work on getting better and better all the time. Chris DeSantis, I buy tools all the time, guys, and I'm trying to use AI to automate processes. I'm trying to do everything I can to make this morning show as good as I can, being only one person. So everything you do to support me, it doesn't have to be financial, is really, really helpful. Sarthak, Wolfspeed is some EV chip maker. Yeah, and we looked at that one earlier. I was not impressed by the financials. They look like a disaster. And if it's EV, I care even less because there's only one EV company in the world. Chris DeSantis, good morning all. Best way to start the day. Jesse, are you selling MicroStrategy to reallocate? I already sold a bunch. I've got I think 40 or 50,000 left. I will be updating my portfolio after this stream and before the market recap. So you guys can look out for that on X. You can see it if you're subscribed. You can also see the historical in the Discord. Broccoli Bob, my ears. Yeah, that was from earlier. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to work on audio. I'm trying to get rid of the advertisement stuff in here. I'm trying to do a lot. They're all things that I'm working on, I promise you. Poo-poo train. I got a lot of chatter here in Europe where fear of isolationism of the USA if Trump presidency, I think it's BS myself. I think countries that are pushing towards communism will have a struggle working with Donald Trump. So if you're pushing towards censoring speech and doing a lot of the stuff that the liberal left is trying to do on this end, I think it's going to be a tough time for you. I do agree with that. Danny White, you were right on SoFi, bro. Had dialed in the 2026s in Q2 with you and stayed put. Now it's finally paying off. You're fucking genius. Good. God bless you. That's awesome. Yeah, I don't love the options play, but whatever. You can get a 2x multiplier. Maybe if it's even 3 now because they did sideways chop for so long. So I love it, man. I hope you make a bunch of money. Again, I think once they get up to that 11, 12 range, you might want to get out a little bit. But otherwise, I love that. Oh, do we have opening bell? Let me go back here real quick. We'll go live here.
Scrooge McDuck? Sanjay was the most bullish I've ever heard of him. I've known Sanjay for many, many years. He's the most bullish I've ever heard of.
Let's get the opening bell.
That's interesting. Is Sanjay the Micron guy?
And the CNBC real-time exchange with the big board, Argentina-based natural gas company.
1 sec. I'm going to go back here.
You know that you can't get this stuff
I want
done
to hear what he's saying.
unless you have NVIDIA.
And I might.
What was your take on what
use this as
Sanjay
a
told
break
you?
to get coffee.
All right, well, Sanjay's basically, he
bathroom
does a
real
lot of
quick
high
for 1 minute.
bandwidth, which is memory, which is data center.
I'm gonna play this out.
But he's doing a lot.
Sorry, I'm going to play this out. I think I have to fix my mic, too, to where it dulls down the volume. I don't think it's doing that right now, so I've got to work on that, too. But I'm going to grab a coffee real quick. I'm going to let this play. Let me know what he says about Micron and if he's talking about this, if the CEO is Sanjay. I can't remember his name. I'm very curious to see what they're saying there. 563 people here. Hit the likes, guys. Really appreciate you guys. It is MU. Yeah, so we want to hear that. If he's bullish, again, I've got that Micron play. I don't have a lot in it, but I still want to add to it. Let's let them play, though. 1 second here.
A lot of NAND, which is good. There's not. He's talking about a 2025 move that makes you really want to get invested in PCs, AI PC. He's also spending a fortune, and he's going to own. He's going to open a place in New York. He's got other plants around the country, but around the world. But I just think his business is booming. It is just booming, and I think that people bought it up 19%. It wasn't enough. This stock deserves to be higher. It's down 54 cents. So, did that guy watch? What was he watching? Donald Duck? I mean, Scrooge McDuck? Sanjay was the most bullish I've ever heard of him. I've known Sanjay for many, many years. He's the most bullish I've ever heard of.
Let's get the opening bell and the CNBC real-time exchange at the big board. Argentina-based natural gas company TGS celebrating its 30th listing anniversary at the NASDAQ. It is MongoDB celebrating David Echiria's 10th anniversary after appearing on Squawk this morning.
That group has been the enterprise software group ever since JFrog started getting talked about takeover, and then Datadog. David, it didn't matter what kind of animal you were going high. Datadog.
I got it.
JFrog. Mongo must be. I don't know.
Mongo's not an animal. Mongo's a person. He was in Blazing Saddles.
Oh, you think that's what it's a reference to? Really?
I don't know.
I'm not so sure about
me.
Okay. Anyway, enterprise software is having a move here, and I keep coming back to Salesforce because of Agentforce, because of Jensen, because of NVIDIA.
Right.
You can't tell the difference other than the agent's not surly and doesn't want to go home.
All right. So what did I miss? Did he say that? Did he say that Sanjay from Micron was the most bullish he's ever seen him?
You have a story developing to a certain extent here on those UNH numbers. We did see them. Obviously, we talked about the stock being down.
And let me do this. I want to hop over. Let's switch this over here to the day. I actually think today is going to be a bounce day. I know it's obscene. Yeah, Tesla's up 1.7%. So I know that's obscene, but energy and minerals still getting crushed. China getting crushed. Health services getting crushed. A little bit of health tech getting crushed. What isn't getting crushed? America, baby. America ain't getting crushed. Very fascinating. Let me get rid of, real quickly, this down in the bottom corner here. We're still going to keep it probably on. I might switch to Tesla maybe for a bit, but I'm going to take extended hours off. And I want to sort by the daily here. So, wow, MSTX dropped really quick. I still think Sailor's going to be dumping soon. That's my take. TMF is up today where it was down yesterday. SoFi still climbing. Love it. Tesla up 1.7%. Love that. Again, maybe the narrative is starting to shift on it. MU only up 0.5%. CleanSpark up a little bit. So, yeah, the market. Let's see what's really down today. Shitcoins are down. That makes sense. Oil is down. Again, it looks like it's going to crack under 70, guys. We're going to get back into the 60s. It's just nuts. It's really good. Again, a lot of crypto. ARKG down 1.83%. Again, that's going to lag. ARGT, Palantir. Yeah, I don't know. Again, Palantir's topped out. That doesn't surprise me. Argentina down. I actually hope that keeps happening. If Bitcoin goes up, I really want to get Micron. I want to get Argentina. I want to get more Tesla. I've got a game plan, and I'm hoping that's what ends up happening. Definitely. That would be amazing. Sailor selling to buy BTC and Tesla. Is that actually happening? What do you guys have for news? I've given you some today. Is there anything happening right now that you guys are seeing that we need to be talking about? Also, I might do this just for a second. I might pop this over here just because I want to see. So this is crazy. So this is the pro version, right, guys? I'm going to probably leave the notification section over there. I'll probably enlarge this a little bit. I'll hit new posts. But there's a bunch of stuff that'll end up flying across the screen. Again, Tautilus is talking about WBA, so you have him. I think you have Jake talking about that too. they all appear to be pushing this gap towards the 15 range. So maybe that's why you guys keep asking about this. That probably makes sense, right? You guys are very interested. Poo Poo Train said, I get a lot of chatter here in Europe. Oh, we talked about that. Danny White, you were right on so far. Oh, we got that. Martin Pillich, China destroyed European manufacturing with the help of EU and policies. It's been the same thing for the United States. It's been the same thing for Canada. It's been the same thing for a lot of countries all around the world. And right now is our opportunity to fight back. And that's what we have to do. We really have no choice. Mr. Monkey, could black people in California, could be black people in California prisons? Oh, what do you mean, slave labor too, by California? I'm not sure of the context there. Maybe it's something that's missing. They definitely are practically communists in California, so maybe that ends up happening. I don't know. And now, evidently, we're trying to correct those concerns by giving black people weed and $20,000 forgivable loans for students. Just black people, not Asian, not Indians with dots and feathers, not white people, not anything else. I don't know, man. There's so much craziness. I don't think we should separate people by color. You know how I feel. I loved Martin Luther King. I think he was an amazing person. And I don't think we should look at people based on race. We should look at them based on merit. It's one of the things that made him so beautiful. It's why they eliminated him. Evidently, that's not the future they want. Les Walter, my company brings in many containers of products from China, India, and Ecuador. Tariffs make the other countries use the government's money to support exports for, say, China and the suppliers. Yeah, I'm sure. There's all kinds of ways to try and circumvent, too. Les Walter, drop their prices to compete so they do work and keeping prices low. Things in China cost more than exported prices. Yeah, we need to crush China and make it to where they can't keep doing this, and they have to back off and not try and destroy different sectors. There needs to be a gauntlet thrown down. Genzo21, like the video, you savage. Hit the likes, says Master of the Game. Marty Cohen, good morning, Jesse. Good morning, everyone. Joe Barasas says, morning, peeps. Mario says, hey, Jesse, do you feel BITX should follow BTC directly up and down, or are there underlying factors to consider? Thank you. So 2 things on BITX. It's a leveraged ETF, right? So it will rebalance every night, and you will experience something called theta decay, where it loses a little bit of value. So if it says it's doing 1.75x or it says it's doing 2, the longer you hold it, the more of that will erode away. By the way, Bitcoin is up 66,115. Again, kind of feels like a bouncy day today, guys. I'm not going to lie. Looks like it could be a pretty good day today. But yeah, so you want to think about that with BITX. You want to realize that it should fall in line, but with that theta decay, you'll get a lessened return than what is marketed. Plus, there's expense fees with them, too, with any ETF, right? So just remember that these are not MSTX, BITX, are not things you want to hold over a longer period of time. Jeff L., just like options, it's the same concept. Jeff L., good morning, albeit I will say that the options usually do better than these indices. These indices are the lazy way to do it, and so you miss some potential returns. By doing that, you also miss some risk, or at least lower the risk, right? Concord, good morning, good morning. Mario, China and Canada 15 years ago in the manufacturing industry, transit, shelter, street furniture, everyone that could buy China did. Quality issues and long lead time did become a problem. Yeah, it's the same all over the world. Philippe Van Gerven, Israel should bomb the nuclear. Biden and his de-escalation policy should back off. Yeah, Biden's not going to win that. They have no power over them. They really don't. They really don't, because we still need them no matter what. Mario, China and Canada, during the last 4 of 5 years, manufacturing clients now prefer to pay premium and have goods manufactured in North American soil. That's the same all over the place. Agreed. So it's like the same picture, Mario. Thank you for that. JT, Woa, Taiwan, that's me. Awesome. Well, we're going to hopefully protect you guys for a long time, and we're militarizing you like fucking crazy, so hopefully you can protect yourselves. Philippe Van Gerven, you can't have Putin be rewarded for this war. He's not rewarded. Dude, he thought he had a 3-day war. He's lost a massive amount of his military. He almost got murdered by his military. He's not winning. There is no reward in this. Okay, but it needs to end. You can't keep doing it. It's ridiculous to continue the war. It has to come to an end. We need to focus our attention on China and making sure that Israel can push back Iran, which I think is going to be easy for them. But we need to really focus our attention on China, and we need to befriend Russia. This isn't encouraging or saying, hey, you did a great job invading your neighbors. but we need to befriend them because we need to separate them from China. We need to be strategic. We can't just take our bias and be like, oh, Russia bad, Putin really bad. I mean, he is. He's a horrible fucking person. He's been a horrible fucking person for a long time. There's no doubt of that. But we need to be strategic in our ambitions and how we defend our country and how we save the world. And you can't just be like, Putin bad. No, like we fight Putin and overthrow Putin and let Ukraine continue to attack into Russia. That's a stupid mentality that could lead to a world war where everything glows and we don't even have to worry about stock markets anymore. And that's not the world I want. I want to avoid that as much as we possibly can. Biden has slowed the pace of support that has contributed in the mess and the war became. If the West was more determined in assisting Ukraine, the war... No, it wouldn't be. Because then what? What happens? They want to take back Crimea. Russia isn't going to allow that. They've already invaded into Russia. That's not good. That's not going to make the world a safer place, Philippe. I'm sorry. It's just not. This war needs to come to an end. It needs to come to an end, and we need to move on from it because we need to befriend Russia again to separate them from China. Think about a global stage and pretend like the sum of all the parts is the most important part, not just one little thing happening in one region. Not to say that it's small when you have millions of people killed in war, but you just can't. You got to look big picture. You have to. Walter said, Jesse, what are your thoughts on TSLL? It's a 2x ETF of Tesla. You mentioned having options would be a TSLL. Yeah, it's the same thing. You do have theta decay because it rebalances every night, just like BITX and MSTX. So there is theta decay, and you won't get that full 2x return, and you don't want to hold on to it forever, but you can use it as a dip buying opportunity. That's what I tend to do. So when I look at the Tesla stock, guys, to be clear, I'm just going to dump this over here real quick and talk to it. So when I look at the Tesla stock over here, when these times over here where everybody was running away from the stock, I was selling my stock and buying calls. And I did that because I was able to basically kind of dip buy, apply a leverage in a way or a multiplier to upside returns at a time when I knew that the company was incredibly oversold and that it would rebound really well, correct? So, and then I turned that into stock as we started making a ton of money. I did that same thing here. I did that same thing here for probably like this range here and then over here. And I'm doing that same thing now. Only I've been in options this time around, but I'm doing that same thing now because I believe this is an incredibly valuable area of support. Even if we go down to 200, I'm buying more because June 2026 gives a lot of time for Tesla to be successful, well over a year and a half. And I think that's easily going to happen. And in that time frame. So I'm excited. And again, it wants to fill that gap, guys. I don't even know if it's going to do it today. Maybe we get up to the 230s. Maybe we don't. But this thing wants to fill. Livelyfoot, thinking of moving to cash and buying dip when attack Iran. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier. F. Christoph, they need U.S. tech to hit the uranium enrichment facilities. That's probably Israel and Iran. I would agree with that. The bunker busters. Let's see here. We got Paul Hoger. You already watched the Micron interview from yesterday? I did not. We should actually pull that up. So let me get to that real quick here. I'll do that on another screen. I'll leave you guys just for a second over here, and then I will pull that up. Actually, you know what I'll do? I'll probably go live over on this end, and then I'm going to look it up. Oh, let me turn on some volume.
For each of their businesses, share gains and fee growth.
Yeah.
That said, as you see, the stock is down. We'll have more as the morning goes along.
The Treasury and Trade Solutions is worth a great deal. It is. It's a great division.
Yes.
They print money. But you know what? I have to tell you that I look at these banks, other than Wells Fargo and J.P. Morgan, Goldman, I think that Banco Santander really measures up. I think Anna Bottini.
Okay. That's actually easier to find than I would have thought. Cool. All right. You're right. It's an 8.5 minute video. Let's watch it. Let me pull this over. Let me pull this down. And 1 second here. Oh, God, I'm already a member, you pricks. 1 second. So annoying. Mad Money. Oh, I don't want that one. What the hell? Where's the Sanjay thing? All right, let me go back. It was just there. It was just a link. There we go. All right. Mad Money with Jim Cramer. Okay. There's like, why does it say, why do I have to be in investing? Do they separate this one out? Oh, if that's the case, that's just going to piss me off. Is that what happened here? Do I have to be an investment club member too? Oh, it says I'm currently signed in. What? All right, fuck that. I might not be able to get this other one with his interview. I'll see if I can still find it, but it looks like there's some paywall behind it, but I'll see if I can find it. So for now, I'm gonna let this play out for a second here. Let me pull this other one up. And I'm gonna let you guys listen to him just for a second while I see if I
He's
can
been
get past
amazing.
this.
It's $5 stock. It's not a speculative stock. Yields 4.45. Largest bank in Europe. Really an untold story. It's fantastic. They've got great numbers. Spanish bank. Wow.
But the story in banking today, Carl, as you well know, is that Charlie Scharf is going to be on Mad Money this
I hadn't
evening.
heard that. That's congratulations.
I think we'll go up to Hudson Yards and do that interview. I don't think it's going to do it here.
that is the biggest story in banking today. Is take a look at Charles Schwab having a great morning.
Charlie Scharf and Charlie Schwab.
Get those two together. That's a show. The market would be doing a lot better if energy weren't down 3%.
Energy.
Jim.
Somebody downgraded BP. Why bother?
Well, but we also had this WAPO piece yesterday that Netanyahu told the U.S. they would not go after oil or nuclear facilities in Iran. Netanyahu, they pushed back a bit against the piece.
Right, so then it goes right. I know, but then Brent immediately goes to low 70s again, and every time you buy these things, they just come right back. I feel badly for people who are trying to speculate. If you are wanting to be in this group, may I suggest that you just go buy Chevron. I know it's been a lagger.
Chevron? Why not just buy Exxon?
Well, I was thinking about yield.
Just asking. Why do you think that? Why do I? Because somebody has to.
One sec, guys.
Exactly 5 weeks ago, after watching the semiconductor complex get hammered for most of the summer.
All right, so I'm paying $50 a month for this bullshit now, just so you guys can see it. So now I have more video options for me with Jim Cramer, but let's listen to him talk to Micron CEO Sanjay.
I put my foot down, said you had to start buying some of these newly cheap chip stocks, with Micron technology being front and center. Micron is a vast chip maker that's a heavy hitter in memory and storage, including high bandwidth storage products that are essential for AI. This stock's up more than 25% in the past 5 weeks, with most of that gain coming in September.
Kramer still looks more sober than Kamala Harris on most of her interviews.
26, when Micron roared nearly 15% after reporting a strong set of results, much better than expected outlook for the current quarter. Question is, can it keep running? Well, we got to do more work. Fortunately, Micron's management was in town this week. They ring in the NASDAQ opening bell this morning, celebrate the 15th anniversary of the company's listing on the NASDAQ Stock Exchange. So let's check in with Sanjay Mehrotra, the president and CEO of Micron, to get a better sense of where the company's headed. Sanjay, welcome back to Mad Money.
Jim, great to be back on your show.
Well, we have a lot to talk about. But first, new logo, 15th anniversary, a company that, with 7 years for you, have done some remarkable things. How about the journey? Because it's an important one.
You know, journey has been fascinating, especially over the last few years. Micron has transformed itself. We have gone from a technology laggard to becoming a clear technology leader. We have multiple generations.
So yeah, guys, if I can pay $50 a month just to make sure that you have interviews like this that I've had to add onto the other shit I'm already paying CNBC, then please hit the like button for that to support the channel, okay? Just please do that. It's not asking a lot.
Of sustained leadership in DRAM as well as NAND technology. What's even more exciting, Jim, is that we have really the most competitive product positioning ever in the history of the company, with products like high bandwidth memory, data center SSDs, products for smartphones and PCs and automotive across the various end market segments. So we are well positioned, and thanks again to 48,000 team members worldwide, continuing to drive innovation, continuing to bring leading edge memory technologies, and value proposition of memory is absolutely continuing to increase with the advent of AI. So it's been exciting, and that's why when you look at our new logo, I think this logo absolutely reflects the innovation and the execution engine at Micron.
Well, I want with the new logo.
Yeah, he's got a lot of shit in his hands, no doubt.
I'm going to be on a real effort on this. ban the word commodity when it comes to Micron. There's nothing commoditized that you do now, is there?
You know, when you look at products like high bandwidth memory, they are absolutely critical to generative AI. And it's not just about high bandwidth memory, as I mentioned. Data center SSDs, our high capacity DRAM DIMM modules, low power DRAM, all.
All right, this is important. He's given signal here on what components are incredibly beneficial for Micron. So listen to this part. Shmeli Adut. I don't know if I got that right. What's up, brother? Love you, man. Love Israel. Love the United States. People who don't can fuck off.
All of these are absolutely driving tremendous value. Look, AI is all about applications and experiences.
Whoa.
You need more memory.
I'm sorry. We're gonna pause this for a second. 67. Oh shit. We're doing a fucking breakout. We're doing Bitcoin's breaking out now. Whoa, 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 whoa. Slow down, Bitcoin. You're drunk. Calm down, buddy. Calm down. Are we really doing this today, guys? Is this really happening today? Oh my God, this is beautiful. So much upward pressure right now. All that capital flight from China, all this global liquidity. Fiscal hasn't kicked in yet, but monetary is definitely happening all around the world. And we're seeing Bitcoin over $67,000. Hype in the chat, guys. Hit like if you like what's happening right now. If you're excited to make vast amounts of money in the years ahead, hit that like button. We're going to get better all the time. And man, are we going to get rich? Are we going to get rich? This is a lot of strength, guys. Lot of strength. You said CLSK is flying too. Let's just do this. We'll bring it down here. We'll move some stuff over. We're going to hop onto the main display for a second. We'll listen to Sanjay in a bit, but this is just too good not to focus on. Let's see. So CLSK in the lead again, outperforming what? MicroStrategy. Even MSTX only getting 3.17, and we're seeing 5.83 on CleanSpark. Cypher's up. I don't love Cypher, but whatever. Iron's up in there too. BITX is up in there. Mara's up in there. Really, without the MSTX multiplier, you're not doing too good. And some of this has already moved. MSTX continues to fall down the list. So Tesla up 2%. Ooh, this is why you need reality, guys. You could look at stuff like that earnings bullshit, and you could be like, oh my God, we're doing so bad in earnings, guys. The end of the world is happening. Let me go back to that real quick, actually. The end of the world is happening with earnings. This is an obvious sign that we need to be worried about what's happening with the economy. I should sell everything today and get out because earnings are so bad. And in actuality, and again, what I'm referencing here for anybody who missed the beginning is a few different charts, right? So look at this. If you follow Zero Hedge is incredibly conservative and incredibly biased towards the current administration and has been expecting the market to drop forever. That bias is hurting his vision because in here it says another quarter where zero earnings growth for the S&P 493, and it makes it look like it's all falling apart, right? But that's not the truth. Here's another one that shows earnings revisions the most negative since December of 2022 per Bloomberg and Citigroup. Oh, well, the sky must be falling, right? That must be what's happening. Oh, this other one up here from Charles Schwab. Oh no, the MSCI World Index, the world is showing upward revisions are plummeting and showing that downward revisions are going straight up, right? Like you look at all this stuff and it looks like the world is actually coming to an end and you should GTFO, right? But no, because when you look over here, you actually find signal. You find signal in the fact that the S&P 500 PE ratio is lower than it was in 2021. It's almost 20% cheaper, even though the stocks have went up over 38%. How can that make sense? It can make sense because earnings have been great. And even though some of them might be revising lower, they're still fucking great. And if they're great, that's still pretty good. So again, and also what we were listening to in that video earlier is that margins and cash flows, especially from the big dogs, are higher than they've ever been. And then you have still high bond yields for the cash that they do have. So you have these companies getting richer and richer and being able to demand higher returns. This is important. This is why Bitcoin is at 67,450 right now and going higher. This is why CleanSpark is up over 7% today. And if you own the calls I own, maybe you're up 15% today. I don't know yet. We'll have to wait for those to settle. But you guys have to realize this matters. All of this matters. You have to know the truth. You have to be able to sift through the bullshit. That is why I am here. That is why this group is so great. That is why I love you guys. And that's why we're going to make a filthy amount of money together. Because we care. We're trying real hard to figure out what the world really looks like. And we're gonna succeed at that. Where others fail. Others like poor me Kevin. We're gonna succeed where he fails, and that's okay. He'll get better. He'll probably be better than me in the future. He's better than me in a number of things right now. Way better at real estate. But he ain't better at this. All right, so I'm moving the bar. I'm literally raising the bar for Bitcoin right now because I think it has so much power. I want to see if it'll push up against this next line. I play with this stuff a little bit because I want to figure out if we're hitting the next area of resistance, or if we can't do that, if we can't get it up, we start coming down, I'll lower the bar back to the daily on it to be able to determine whether or not we're finding support. These are some little nuances and technical analysis that a lot of people don't focus on, but they're important. They're the little tiny shifts in the ebbs and flows that give you the signal. So very excited right now for you guys, and for me too. I mean, I definitely don't hate making money. But yeah, I want to hear stories in the years ahead from a bunch of you talking about how you retired. Also, this is a good time to indicate I do not, outside of a $5 minimum for Discord, outside of a $5 fee for X, outside of a $2 minimum for YouTube, I will not ask you for anything ever money, okay? So make sure you understand that. Anybody doing that, if they're pretending to be my admin wife and asking you to wire 10 grand like I saw on Discord the other day, that's not real. Do not do that. I will never need those things from you. I make enough money. If somebody really is really good at investing, they won't ask you for $2,000 for a course. They'll give it away. They won't give it away, but I mean, they'll put some monetary value on it that's acceptable. And then that way they can filter out the trash, and they won't charge you a bunch of money because they can make their own money. Okay? Those are the people you follow. All right, this is just the beginning. We got a lot of money to make, guys. We got a lot of money. I'm just going to take a look here at CleanSpark. So it looks like the calls are behind right now. Right now, CleanSpark is up 7%, and the calls are only 3%. So anybody who wanted to step into calls, this is a great time to do it before they really start to run, okay? So this is the time. BGZ, thank you for the $2 tip. This is going to be fun. I 100% agree. Very excited. We pushed 67.7. And so when we do these huge surges, guys, you might realize something. Your options initially will not take off because people buy the underlying asset. Then as they do that, they go, oh, shoot, should I actually be in calls? Because the calls could give me a bigger number when I look at it. And so then people play catch up with the calls. We're pushing 67,800 now, guys. This is the real breakout bar. This is very exciting. Very exciting. We're going to hit a little bit of resistance here, but man, if we cross this bar, holy heck. Jesse's right. Too many scam artists making their money off of subs. Yeah, dude, you shouldn't need that. You shouldn't need that, right, George? You shouldn't need to charge somebody hundreds or thousands of dollars. Now, don't get me wrong. If you do the kind of research that somebody like Tom Lee does, and again, Invest Answers, he's cheap. For the level of work that he does, he is cheap. There's people, and with Tom Lee's work, he can demand a premium because he's doing so much. But, and he's got an army beside him. But people like Meet Kevin, it's just like him, dude. It's just him, and then some people that do editing and stuff. But, like, he's doing the bulk of that work. I don't think he's found anybody to really come in and help him do the majority of it. And I think Kevin's biggest mistake, I love the guy, and he should focus on his family. He's got a big family. He should focus on it. He shouldn't be, drinking carrot juice or whatever. But at the same time, he's one person and he thinks he can do everything. I know I can't do everything. I know I'm dependent and beholden on you guys. Soul Strategies is now up 80%. Do not touch that, guys. Do not touch that. Stay the heck away from Soul Strategies. That sounds like nightmare fuel. Do not do it. Do not do it. I know. James has probably made a ton of money today, and I'm so happy for him. But you do not want. What is the ticker on Soul Strategies? Do you guys remember off the top of your head? Here, let me just pump it in here. Soul stock strategies. Is this it? CYFRF. Is that it, or is it HODL? Oh my God, what is this? Is this it? What the fuck? Stay away from this. Do not buy this, guys. Do not buy this. Whatever. If this is it, just stay away. The HODL is the Canadian version of this. Had a massive gap too. Do not own this stock, guys. Please do not do this. It will not now. It will wreck you. Just please don't be stupid. Anything that goes from the 19th, a little over 3 weeks ago, from 8 cents up to 81 cents, a 10x, don't do that. It's so much above its NAV right now. The people that bought the top on this today, how much have they lost already? The people who bought this top up here, who jumped into this bullshit, have lost 43% of their money today. Please don't do this, guys. Please don't hurt yourself this way. Bitcoin, 68,000. Beautiful. Beautiful. So but buy Bitcoin stuff, guys. We're getting close. 67,700. We're getting real close to 68. Getting a little bit of volatility, but that's all good, guys. Dario says, Master Chief Jesse, I'm up 50% on CleanSpark July 18th, 2025. Beautiful, sir. Very happy for you. It's going to get a lot better. You'll probably be up 500% or more by spring. That's my numbers. Look at this, though. Look at this, guys. Right here. Look at this. This is what I love, right? Like, look at this right here. Look at this. What did it perfectly do before it started to retrace? What did it perfectly do? It perfectly touched these resistance lines that we have over here. And I do need to redraw it because it's a little off. So let me just fix this just a hair. I need to bring this down, right? Because I want to make sure we're covering that. And then we got this one. Yeah, that's close. That's real close. Let's see. Yeah. Again, perfect. Look at that. Perfect. I'm just going to lock that in. So we perfectly hit resistance, and then we touched back. But this is the good stuff, guys. This feels like the real deal. This is my third cycle with Bitcoin. Some of you might be newer here. Maybe you haven't. Last ride wasn't even that good. The last ride got neutered by the Fed. So you guys that are even from last cycle just don't have the perspective of what can come. Piso Mojado, thank you for the $5. Don't embrace the FOMO. Not with things like Soul Strategies. You should be in on Bitcoin. I think that's getting ready to roll. But you things like Soul Strategies will wreck you guys. They'll wreck you. Everybody gets excited about the current thing that's running. You just need to know what you have, and you need to enjoy that, okay? You need to look at the others and be like, my time's coming. That's how you make real money. It's by knowing the investments that you have, knowing that your time is ahead. It's not by FOMOing into the next fucking thing that people are talking about. That will ruin you. Safaraz said, can do SoFi. SoFi's looking good. Yeah, we can pull that up. I'm assuming English is not super strong for you, but we can look it up. So, you guys let me know if we're break 68 again on Bitcoin. All right, let's get over here. So, SoFi looking great. Let's look, though, for overbought conditions. Let's focus on that, okay? So, SoFi, and I'm actually going to change my bottom ticker down here. I'm going to actually switch that over real quick to Tesla, because I want to keep an eye on that too. So bottom ticker now, guys, Tesla. And it is up 1%, so it's not doing nearly as good. And then we'll look at SoFi over here. BGZ, CleanSpark options still good here? I think so. Run the math. I'm actually not that up, but I was buying the dip. They're up 10% today. So do I love them today? I love them more yesterday, to be clear. I love them more last week, because now they've run a decent amount in the last several days. So I would run the calculator, BGZ, go to optionsprofitcalculator.com, do a long call. And you know what? Fuck it. We'll just do it right now. So we'll look at my price. We'll compare my price for what I bought this at. Some people got better numbers. That's okay. I was willing to be early. But we'll compare my price to what it is right now so that you guys can get an idea, right? So I have 37 calls. That's the ones down here. They're right now $1.80. I got them at $1.66. So we'll put my number in. I have too many of them. I mean, too many being a good thing. I have 1,300 contracts at $216,000. And so if I'm right, and by February, March, we get up to $32, like I think we can, I make 500% off of 200%. And so we're technically higher than that now, but I'm expecting to be able to 2x my money essentially off of what the underlying asset does in opportunity. And I think CleanSpark can get to 32. So if it does that by March, I make about $1 million off of 216,000. I will convert that over to CleanSpark stock and dump the options probably completely at that point. So just realize that. Now at current levels, what are we at? 1.86. So 1.86. So if I own this right now, my return is going to be a little less. So again, normally I like 3x minimum returns versus the underlying asset. So I'm betting a lot more that this does really good. But by March here, again, you can get a similar return. 186% move roughly can give you 342. So you're losing. I mean, I was getting 950,000. You're getting 828. So it's not as good as it was. And I prefer to buy things on down days when it comes to options. But you do you, man. I think you can still get a 2x versus the underlying and what it can do. And I think the opportunity for that to happen between now and March is very high. That's my take. But there's risk that goes along with time-based research, right? All right, so let's look at SoFi. So SoFi is hitting its previous high from December of 2023, so about 10 months ago, almost 11 months ago. So that's good. It can still roll up here, though. So we still have the ability for SoFi to go, just in the short term, at least 10% to 13%. So I don't know. It's a really good breakout, guys. SoFi can run for a while. What is the market cap on this stock right now? It is $11 billion. So I think we can do that pretty easily. I think we could even go up to like the 14s. I think we can go up anywhere from 12 to 31%. But I do think Bitcoin is a much better opportunity right now. Let me just say that. I'm going to change percentages here and look in the corner. So CleanSpark still winning. Iron in second place. Love that because we added a bunch of iron. Right? We used all the Tesla profits we made, that $500,000 in profits. We took that stuff out. We bought CleanSpark, we bought Iron, we bought BITX, we bought MSTX. We've dumped BITX and MSTX, taken those profits already. But we purchased a lot of CleanSpark and a lot of Iron and a few other things, right? So we really embrace that, and that's going to benefit us greatly right now. All right, let's look at what else we got here, guys. It is 9:08. We're still kind of early in the day. Oh, I got to refresh here. I hate how I still get these connection warnings. I need to talk to my boys and get that fixed. We are seeing a little retrace in Tesla, so it doesn't look like it's trying to fill that gap. It started to go up into the gap zone, and it started retracing. So again, maybe we don't get any kind of real move in Tesla until earnings. And the earnings could be disappointing. So I'm hoping they are. That's my bias. My bias is that we see this. So you guys know where my bias is. I'm hoping we drop down into the 200s, and I'm hoping that in the process of that, I can use that to buy more. So that's my bias, just so you guys know it. And let's see, do I have a color here? Let me switch this. Sorry, this is in the bottom corner of the screen in case you guys missed where I am. But SoFi could still do all right, and I expect it to. But if you've also, let's look at it this way. Let's look at it the counter way, okay? If you've made, I don't know, 38% on SoFi since we found that bottom and you're in calls, not a bad place to nibble. I'd probably nibble and sell off a little bit more, definitely around the 1140 range. 1140 to 12, I would sell more. And then as we get to 14, I would sell more. I would probably be, if you're in options, I would be like 60, 70% out because this will be a huge impulse. By the time we get to 14, guys, you'll have doubled your money in the underlying stock almost. And then at the same time, if you had options, you made even more than that. What's my long on CLSK? My long is this. This is my long on CLSK. It's and these are still settling for the day, but it's right here. But again, it's up 15% now. So I don't love that number. It's up a lot in the last few. Or I'm sorry, 16.36%. So it's up 35 grand just today. And I'm 10% in profits. And again, I started buying this way early. So it's doing really good. It almost scares me a little bit how quickly it's going up. But again, I think you could get 2x off of this. But if you just have CleanSpark and you make 200+% in the next couple of months, you won't be crying, and you have no time-related risk if you do that. So just, again, think about things rationally. Don't be too crazy. Let's go back to Sanjay, though, guys. I want to make sure I mute this. I'm just trying to keep my live feed going. So I'm going to dump this down in the bottom corner, and then I'm going to mute it, and I'm going to shrink it a little bit. But I'm going to watch this down in the bottom corner because I want to be able to see that. And then at the same time, so it looks like, yeah, okay, I see who we're talking to. He's an idiot. But now let's go ahead and get back to Sanjay and talk about Micron.
To drive that experience, and that's what is driving the tremendous growth. And I think one would be mistaken if
yeah, we can look at Tesla Young. Well, we'll do that in a little bit here. Let's go finish up Micron, and then maybe we can jump over to that and look at the options for the Tesla contracts I'm in and see what they're worth right now versus the underlying.
one only thinks that memory is needed for AI and data center. Certainly, smartphone and PCs and those new models have started coming out. 2025 will be first full year, increasing momentum as we go through the year. They require more content of memory. And we have discussed that in the past. Right. Significantly more content needed in AI-enabled smartphone and PCs as well. So from data center to the edge, memory is becoming a key enabler of AI experiences.
All right, so if I wanted to get something for high bandwidth memory from you, I wanted to order and I wanted it quickly, when would it first be available?
Well, we actually have been shipping high bandwidth memory.
But aren't you sold out if I want it?
We are absolutely sold out, but we have been shipping it. In our fiscal year 24, which ended in August, we realized several hundred millions of dollars of revenue with that product. And in fiscal year 25, we have said it will become multiple billions of dollars of revenue for us. We have the best product in the industry. This is that high bandwidth memory. This is the latest example where
Micron looks like a really good hold, guys.
12 of memory die are stacked inside. This is 32 gigabyte of DRAM memory, high bandwidth memory, absolutely critical for training, for your high-end inferencing, as well as general purpose inferencing. And Jim, I wanted to also show you a solid-state drive product. This is 30 terabyte of product.
But you got to tell me how many transistors are on that?
Oh, I mean, this is 30 terabyte means 30 trillion, bytes of data in this. Of course, these are, trillions of transistors that go in these. What I want to point out is that when you look at generative AI infrastructure, you need this kind of memory, high bandwidth memory. You need storage like this 30 terabyte SSD. And, this is where high performance supercomputers, they need their data from storage.
So they need Micron. They need Micron for the memory and for the data storage piece. So all these advanced centers that are getting built up, they will see Micron's numbers going up along with it, and they're a much smaller cap than NVIDIA. And so Sanjay's telling you, hey, there's signal here. You can make a lot of money.
Storage here, they need this.
Derek Wall, brother. Awesome, dude. 50 memberships. You're insane. Derek is a true baller. Very much appreciate you, sir. Thank you very much. That's insane. Thanks, dude.
It's high bandwidth memory, and they need a lot of low power memory as well.
All right, real quickly, for anybody who's new here, if you're new to the channel today, thank you for being here. Thank you for the 500 plus people. Hit the like if you could. Thank Derek for giving him memberships. With the memberships that he gives, it gives you the ability to be able to talk and chat. Also on the market recap and a little bit in the opens, but probably more in the market recaps at the end of the day. It will give you the ability to ask me to look at the financials for different stocks and the technicals and try and give you my thought on whether or not, things are going to be good in the future or bad, and whether or not we could get a bounce from a technical level or whether the financials look like the company's coming to an end. So I do all of that as well. It's still crazy. There's still memberships going down. You're insane. Thanks, Derek.
I think it's important to point out, I was going back with my colleague David Faberday, you were saying, well, we don't make the semiconductor. All the semiconductors are made in Taiwan. Though that's true that many are. But tell people where you make yours.
We make our products worldwide, right? We make some of our products, particularly for the trailing edge technologies, here in Manassas, Virginia. We make our DRAM memory, of course, in Taiwan as well as in Japan. Right. We make our NAND flash memory in Singapore. So we are a worldwide company. And we are excited that with the CHIPS Act, now we are bringing leading edge memory manufacturing.
Yeah, they definitely do stuff in Taiwan. No doubt, brother.
Manufacturing here to meet the growing demands, particularly for the latter part of this decade. With CHIPS Act, we have begun construction in Idaho, Boise, Idaho, for a leading edge fab to be located next to the R&D fab, time to acceleration for leading edge technologies.
Thank you for joining.
And then we will follow it up in New York with another cluster of leading edge fabs. Idaho first, New York later.
You haven't invited us to New York yet. What is that about? When is our groundbreaking?
Dude, I really think that Micron is going to be a good investment heading into the future here. I haven't made a video on it. I probably need to.
Well, we are in the process of permitting approvals right now, environmental permitting approvals. Come to Boise, and we'll definitely invite you to New York as well once we get through the environmental permitting process. It's important that greenfield capacity is needed to supply the growing demand that we are talking about with AI for memory.
And it is possible people might be buying a PC in the next 18 months that might have some of this incredible technology.
Absolutely. Some of the incredible low-power DRAMs, as well as our DRAM solutions, go into PCs. When you look at AI-enabled PCs, some of the models that have been introduced, mid-range to high-end, have up to 32 to 64 gigabyte of DRAM. Low-end AI-enabled PC has 16 gigabyte of DRAM. Jim, just compare that. That compares with average of 12 gigabyte.
All right, sorry to interrupt, Sanjay. This is very valuable stuff, and I'm very excited about Micron. But MSTX is down 8% today, guys. So it looks like you should be happy we're out of it. Also, NVIDIA, I've mentioned numerous times that it has a cap on its potential. Not that it can't go up higher and break new all-time highs like it did, I think, yesterday. But it has a cap on its potential because of its sheer size. It's just too big. It's too big, and it's going to make it to where it can't give you the returns you might want. Mike, thank you for joining. T-Tang, thank you for joining. You guys are amazing. Paying to join along with all the memberships that we're giving out. This is just insane. I think I've got 55, 60 people that have joined today. This is the best market open I've ever had. We hit 575 people. Thank you guys so much for your support. We're going to grow together. Like I said, just today, I joined this stupid Jim Cramer something on CNBC with my membership. Got to pay $50 a month for this guy's insights. Isn't that exciting? But I did it so that you guys could get this interview. So I will take the money that you guys are investing into me, and I want to invest in this channel and give you, more and more and more. So I really appreciate you guys.
So tremendous content growth opportunity in PCs as we go ahead with AI-enabled PCs and Windows refresh, particularly accelerating and picking up momentum in the second half of the year, next year. And same thing for smartphones. AI-enabled smartphones, last year, leading-edge smartphones had 8 gigabyte of memory in them. AI-enabled phones now 12 gigabyte and 16 gigabyte of memory.
Well, I've got to tell you, you've done a remarkable job. You've been a great steward of this company, which has really become one of the biggest and the best. And I am so thrilled you're here. Congratulations on your ringing of the bell, 15 years, and for your amazing reign, because you've done such a great job, Sanjay.
I'm definitely going to make a video about Micron. I get more excited every time I hear about the fundamentals from the CEO. I think it's their time to shine. I'll show you financials in a second. Somebody did want to look at Tesla and compare the options and see if they're valuable right now, or what they are versus what I had them at and what they are now. I did want to say this. So Cheyenne O, I hope I'm getting your name right. Sorry, man, on X. Iron Up, yes. You also said Clean Spark still good to enter. We'll take a look at that. Kellerbrook says you rock. Thank you. I'm just looking at X ones. West Coast Ken struck down 820 under 4%. Cheyenne O, thank you. You're welcome, sir. Tired Gang says, does anyone think that there is a big sell-off right now due to China announcing foreign wealth income tax raise? I'm not seeing a reason for the sell-off outside of that. I mean, I'm not seeing a sell-off. I'm making tons of money today. But yeah, China's going to have it rough, man. They're going to have it rough. It's the makeup of what the CCP has been creating for years. Xi Jinping has been horrible for their economy. There were other people that were prime ministers. I shouldn't even say prime ministers, but let's just say overlords of the CCP before that, but they were much more democratic and they were embracing that stuff, and they've all been taken out. So their histories have been wiped out, and China's not in good shape, and they're going to reap what they sow. It just took a lot of sowing. West Coast Ken, MicroStrategy typo, swearing shitty, time to drink water, Jesse. I know my throat's rough. CDK Studios, forgot to look at SoFi. I do have water over here. I've got coffee too. My wife gave it to me, so I probably should grab it. I'll do that in a second. Anybody still like Flux? I think it's actually probably a decent opportunity, but it makes up less than 1% of my portfolio for a reason. It's only 35K. It's actually probably over 1% right now, 1.2 or 1.3%, something like that. So, but I've got DLO, and that's just been a shit investment. But it's Latin America, and I think it could come around, so I might lower the target and try some more of those. Again, I'm trying to spread wealth in asymmetric directions because that's how you make a bunch of money. But yeah, so PayPal looks like down 1.65, not doing super great there. I still have a lot in that. I probably won't devote more to it right now. Bitcoin just leading by far. Tesla's still up 1%. What do the options look like for Tesla right now? Up almost 2%. So they're 2xing. That makes sense. So that's pretty much in line with what they should be doing. Not too crazy. Let me read here. So, Tired Gang, I'm up on the day. Just seeing some steep drops and other names got me thinking about it. Yeah. So, I mean, again, we're going to be looking at rotations into the things that I own right now and that have underperformed. So this is our time to shine, even if markets do, have some issues. CDK Studios, Jesse, taking full advantage of the market open since Amit is away. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. So he's away, and then at the same time, we have Meet Kevin stepping back. Yeah, I'll take advantage of that all day long. Bitcoin Man, no China stocks. Yes, don't touch them. Oscar, awesome. Mikhail Carlson, the new tax is for people in China that invest outside of China. Yeah, exactly. They have businesses outside of China, or they invest outside of China. They want the money to stay domestically. It's all about capital flight and trying to prevent money from leaving. They need as much of it internally as they can, 100%. C-list, China has enough empty apartments that never have been inhabited by anyone to house everyone in Africa. I mean, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but not a lot. Not a lot. BD, is the Flux class action suit on accounting practices new or old news? I don't know if it I don't know. I'll have to look. Cam Prague, 3LMI, 3X MicroStrategy, 35% down today that I sold 2 days ago. Thank you, Jesse, for the warning. Woof, that would have been brutal. I'm very happy to hear that. That's why I'm here, man. Walter Bryan, would it be a good time to buy CleanSpark at this price? Yes. Okay, so let's look at that. On what day are you updating? I'll be doing it after this. I should have done it over the weekend. I try and do it over the weekend, Tobias, but I was a little lazy and spent time with my family and hiked. Ryan Rukowski, can you take a look at Micron chart? Yeah, let's look at a bunch. So first off, I told people that I would look at options contracts that I'm in for Tesla. So let's do that first. We already did it for CleanSpark. Again, it all depends on the measure of what you think. It's up a lot today, guys. The CleanSpark contracts are up 18% now. So I can't with just being an honest human being, I can't be like, yeah, CleanSpark calls are a super great deal today when they're up 18% on the day, and they were up a lot yesterday too. So that's like a 40% improvement maybe or something over the last couple of days when I'm looking at these contracts. So I would have liked it more last week, but you do you. It's still got a pretty decent return on the options contract, albeit by the minute it seems to be getting worse. Let's look at Tesla and compare what the current value is for these contracts. For the June 2026 that I hold, they do have January 2027s. You're probably paying a decent premium for that though. But let's just go to the June 2026s, and we'll grab those. I think it's the 330 strike that I have. And we'll look at how much I paid for it. So I paid $29.54 for now, though. We'll just leave it on what your guys' have. How many do I have? I have 200. I have about 230, I think, across all. So we'll just punch in 230. And then we'll do it at today's value. I won't do it at the other value because I want to show you guys what it could be at. I believe the peak for this is 900. With my first really strong, like, get the fuck out at 600. And so let's say that by December of next year, or January maybe, because December, you got some pretty good earnings in December that come out in January. So let's say January, let's say like mid-January, right? You get out at $600. That's 673% gains off 170%. So I don't think that number is super bad. It's about 3x the underlying or something like that. A little over 3x, 3.5x the underlying. I think that's a pretty good number. My other gauge, though, is around the 400, 450 range. So let's say that happens by January, mid-January. So you get 244% on 100%. So again, you're still getting a 2.4x, 2.5x the underlying asset, and you could make $2 million off of that. But I think it's going to happen quicker than all that, guys. I think we could have some good quarters heading into third, maybe of next year. And if we got to the 430 and you're up 347% on 108, that's a pretty good number. That's over 3x. And then if we got by some miracle to the 600s, right around that range, by September, October of next year, you could make 763 off 180. And if by some miracle we got up to like 900 or something by the end of next year, or beginning of 2026, you could have 1,500%, a 300% move, or a 5x the underlying. So I'd say that this is pretty good. The 300 calls, I don't know about the 300s. The thing you have to look at, too, guys, whenever you're looking at options, is you've got to look at the options chain. So for Tesla stock here, we go to NASDAQ.com. This doesn't always work, but we go to option chain. We set it to whatever time frame we're looking at. So let's still say we're in June of 2026. Let's put it all moneyness. And I do that because I want to see everything, because I've got targets at different levels. So we could look at the 300 strike, but there is open interest in it. That's this column right here. But it's not the highest level of open interest. That appears to be in the contracts I'm in right now. But there is open interest at the 300. That might be another good one. You've got some volume on it. 350 also appears to have, a decent amount of open interest, but it's got more volume right now. And then the 400 range is a really big, tons of open interest in here, just like ours. The ones I'm in usually have the most open interest because I'm pretty good at picking strikes. But and then 57 for volume. So this one, the 400 range, if you're really ambitious, might be a good one too. Probably gives you a higher multiple. Anyway, yeah, so let's look here. So what else do we have? Flux, 3X MicroStrategy. Wow, good to get out after a decent run. Yeah, you don't want to be in leveraged plays that rebalance every day when they played out over the short term. They're painful. Ryan Ripkowski, can you look at Micron? Yes, that was what we were going to do, so let's do that right now. So I'll keep this stuff up. I'll probably close on this one. I'll close the side. And it looks like Bitcoin's retracing a little bit. Let's just see real quick. What are we at right now for Bitcoin before we pull up Micron? So we've taken a little bit of a step back. We're still at 67,000, but the market's like, whoa, that was scary. Maybe we're topping here. So right now, CleanSpark's still in the lead, it looks like. BITX next, Iron next, then SoFi, then TMF, then Near, and a few others. So we're taking a breather. That's fine. Again, we're climbing that wall of worry. I love that. Let's go, though. So let's minimize this. Let's go ahead and go over to Micron and look at this chart. I think I have it, too. And I should have this in the Discord. If I don't, let me know, guys. So right now I've drawn this from down here where we had a low in September of 2022 up to the previous high here where we're at 158, all the way down to the 84 mark. Roughly a 46% drop in Micron's price. So if you're going to buy, this is a better entry point. Right now, though, still down 33%. But I like that number. I don't hate that number. And I think it's a good one. And I think we've got a ways to go here just to get back to the previous high. How much do we have on Micron? Just to get back to our previous all-time high, which it sounds like we're going to be able to do pretty easily. There is a 50% move to the upside. And really before we start hitting any major friction, I think, maybe 60%. So again, these aren't like Bitcoin crypto moves, but this is a nice thing to take gains on when you do take them and put them into here maybe instead of TLT, a 20-year bond in the short term. Because I think, again, it's already retraced a lot. It's got a decent upside, and we can get that bounce, if nothing else. Johnsonville says, Jesse, thanks to your help, I just hit the 100K mark. Don't want to share with my family, so you guys are here all I have. Oh, okay. You don't want to share, like, your gains so far or, like, what's happening in the investment world. You want to wait. I get that. It's probably not a bad idea. And you don't want to bore them with talking about stocks all day. So we're happy for you. We're happy for you. C-list, Jesse, that's based on a family of 5 and 250 million unoccupied. Oh, no, that's a good point. Yeah. No, you win. Yep, C-list is right. That's probably right. You probably could fit in Africa. Isn't that crazy? And here's the thing. Even if you took all the homeless people in China, you still would have too much, so you'd have to import people from other places. So it's problematic. It's a major, major problematic thing for their economy right now. All right. Luke Automata says, Johnsonville, that's amazing. Congrats. See here, guys, we don't try and tear people down in here. I might tear down investments because I truly believe there's risk, and I'll try and clearly articulate why I worry about them. And maybe I end up being wrong. That's all possible, okay? But we don't tear each other down. We try and bring each other up otherwise. And I love that. I love that you guys are doing that. Micron has 2 gaps open on the daily. Interesting. Yeah. One of them looks pretty big too. I'll have to mark those on my chart. Thank you, Chad. Cheyenne, so MU's good to enter now? I think it is. I think it's a great entry point right now. Personally, that's me. And I am looking to add myself. I'll be doing that with gains as we have more and more of them. But right now, again, we're taking a breather. We're only at 66,757. So we hit that peak resistance level and we dropped. I'm actually going to move this all the way down here because we could go back to 65,000 to establish a base. That would not be crazy at all for Bitcoin. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this one right where we were on the peak volumes here. And then we could grind in here, guys, even for a week. It doesn't have to go up today, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful that we've already seen such strength. It's a lot stronger than I would have anticipated over the short term. So I think it just indicates the explosive nature of what we have sitting in front of us right now. And I'm very excited about it. All right, let me keep going. Jamie says, Jesse, thank you for your work. You're very welcome. Joanne says Tesla's dropping like a lead balloon. Is it? A lead balloon. It's flat. I wouldn't call that a lead balloon, but it could drop more. It's in the bottom right corner, guys. You can see it. And it could drop more. It could totally do that. We still have CleanSpark holding on to 4.5%. So interesting. Probably not going to trade anything today. I'm just going to hang out. JT says, Johnsonville, nice job, man. Kyle Wright says, well done. I love you guys. Ryan Rakowski said, just hit 270,000, most money I've ever had. Thanks for all you do. That's awesome, Ryan. Augustin Ortega says, let's go to Johnsonville, and Ryan Rakowski. And then Cam Prague says, congrats. I love you guys. JT, congrats to Ryan. Raul, Jesse, thanks for all of this info, man. I'm learning so much and making money. I'm listening to you. Every time I see your Cybertruck on the road, I see your face. That's awesome. Johnsonville, thanks, guys. It's been a fun ride. Been following Jesse for about 9 months or so, and he is the best stock guy ever. Thank you. Really appreciate you guys. All right, so let's look over here and see if we have anything going on live right now in CNBC. It looks like we've been on break for a while. I'm going to look at other videos too. And maybe take a step back. So we got a very interesting one from Micron. Again, I probably need to make a separate standalone video. I'm just going to see if there's anything else interesting here. 2 hours ago, we got access to capital will profoundly impact the performance of AI models, says MongoDB. That's interesting. I want to hear that. Let's just look at what else there is, though. That's Micron. Flexport CEO says talks of holidays, shopping, and supply chain. Ooh, that's interesting, too. Adobe CEO says we're innovating like no other large company. Whatever. I don't care. I want to hear this. I probably want to start with Flexport. Ryder CEO May Habib talks utilizing synthetic data to train AI models. Oh, that's fascinating too. And then we had Larry Fink yesterday talking about how the firm's positioned to take advantage. God, there's so many good videos. I think we're just gonna start with this one. This is only about 20 minutes worth of videos, guys, but this looks really good, so I want to hear it. We're going to jump into this one. We're going to start with the AI startup writer, and we'll move through Larry Fink and others.
Startup Writer is aiming to fix one of the big problems facing generative artificial intelligence, the massive cost of training models. Its solution? Synthetic data, or data created by AI. That's allowed the company to train its latest model, released this week, for about $700,000. Now, that compares to millions of dollars for competitors like ChatGPT. The company is currently raising funds at a nearly $2 billion valuation and counts Uber, Salesforce, and Vanguard among its corporate customers. So joining us now for more in an exclusive interview is Writer co-founder and CEO May Habib. May, it's great to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you, Morgan. Hello.
So before we get into the cost of the synthetic data and the cost of training language models, I want to take a step back and just sort of what does Writer offer into the enterprise market where Gen AI is concerned? How does it stack up against some of the other competitors that we do talk about?
Sorry, Augustin, what did you say? Did you see our government in Argentina offering SpaceX places to launch? Is that an article right now? What? I missed that. Starlink. No, dude. What is this? Starlink, Elon Musk satellite internet provider company, now says on its official website that it will land in Argentina in 2024 following the triumphant Javier Milei. That it will land in Argentina? What do they mean by that? Oh, wait. There's a reader's note here. I don't know what that means, but it looks like maybe something's being refuted there, and I don't speak Spanish well enough to understand it. Let me keep rolling down. What is this? Nuncio, Starlink, commercial in Argentina, important zone, Argentina, geographical access to the internet. All right, so Starlink's going to be going there. Is that what it is? AMSL is down 10%. What's the news on there, JWV8? This is what Elon Musk can count on Argentina to move forward with SpaceX projects. Our country is now open to the world, and oh, that's cool. That's cool. I like that. So I don't know if you guys have actual links that confirm some of that discussion with Argentina and SpaceX. That would be great. I would love to see it. But it looks like, at the very least, it looks like Argentina is opening the door for SpaceX and that they're probably going to have Starlink there. And I love all of that. Yeah, ASML is down 10%. But why? What on what? Here, I'll pull it up for you guys. And then we'll get back to that CEO. Let me see here. Do you guys have actually any news? It was Derek that did it. He's a badass. He's somebody who tried to get me in early on Figure AI, but I was unavailable because I was in Vegas. I probably should have taken him up on it. All right, ASML down. You're right. It's down 14% now. What's the news? Let's look at TradingView's little AI news thing. Requires a license to service its older chip-making machines. The Chinese clients, due to the new Dutch import rules effect. So they're getting hurt. They're getting hurt because of rules from importers. That's what I derived a little bit. I don't know where the article is. Yeah, so it looks to me that it's this news right here. ASML requires a license to service its older chip-making machines. For Chinese clients, for Chinese clients due to Dutch export rules effective September 6th. So I don't know if this actually impacts them, but it's very fascinating. You guys let me know if you find any more news on ASML. And if you're on X, you can post it a link right in the chat, okay? Let me know. Let's get back, though. I want to get back to this video. I want to keep listening to Signal here.
About day in, day out, like OpenAI.
Well, the word is stack. You said it. Companies are struggling to adopt generative AI at scale. And what we do, we call a full stack approach to generative AI. So it's the large language models plus the critical tools that companies need to customize those models for their data, for their workflows.
Okay. So when we talk about synthetic data, what does that mean? How are you able to do this at such a...
No, I do not, Adam. I do not have calls for SoFi. And honestly, I gave some targets. It's not a bad idea, I think, to sell some. I still think we're getting into the 11s. It depends on what date you have. If it's January 2025, man, I don't know. I'd be taking my profits personally. Nvidia down big, cool. Do you guys need me to look up ASML? I can. Let me see. Let me see here. Let me see if the web search with Poe. I want to compare it to Grok. 1 second here. And it looks like the whole market's starting to roll over, guys. It's not just one area. All right, let's take a look. Why is ASML stock dropping? All right. I'm just checking theirs real quick. I'll check Grok here too, guys. We'll do a comparison. Analyst downgrades. So UBS analyst Francois Javier downgraded ASML stock from buy to neutral. He expressed concerns about the current earnings outlook and may overly optimistic and suggested that the stock might not reach previous. I don't have a date from web search on this. Let's look over here and see what X has. Lower than expected bookings. So this is a part of that same analyst, so it must have been a recent occurrence. So, no, this is a different one. Lower than expected bookings. A post on X from Millions Capital mentioned that ASML reported third quarter bookings of $2.63 billion, which fell short of the estimated $5.39 billion. The shortfall in bookings, which indicates future revenue, could be directly impacting the stock price, with an observed decline of 11% following the announcement. Downward revision of future guidance. ASML revised downwards into 2025 net sales and gross margin guidance. Here, you know what? I don't want to fucking do this. So we're going to have this other thing be done. And I will turn down volume, though, since I haven't been able to fix that yet, because I don't want to blast you guys out, okay? So one sec. Let me just turn this down, and then I'm going to send my little bot. 1 second. Should be firing up. Let's see. Yep, we could be in for some volatility today. I don't know if there's a good reason why.
Answer based on information gathered from X posts and broader web results up to October. Several factors might be contributing to ASML's stock price drop, lower than expected bookings. A post on X from Millions Capital mentioned that ASML reported third quarter bookings of
1 sec, I'm speeding it up, just 0.1. The guy talks too slow. I got to have British fast people, otherwise it's not the same. Yep, the markets are dropping. Cool. Everything's dropping. Let's look at the heat map while we wait for this to come back. It's turning pretty red. And I don't know if it's just the ASML news. We'll have that read to us in a second. I think. I don't know why it's actually taking so long. Kind of weird. Let me hit play again. I don't know why this isn't working. The one time I want to use it. Oh.
Which fell short of the estimated billion. This shortfall in bookings, which indicates future revenue, could be directly impacting the stock price, with an observed decline of 11% following the announcement. Downward. Revision of future guidance. ASML revised downwards its 2025 net sales and gross margin guidance. Such revisions often lead to a negative market reaction as they suggest less optimism.
Somebody said, interesting how ASML is pulling everything down. It might be, or there could be some news event. Is it still blasting your ears? I tried to turn the volume way down. I know it's still loud, but let me try it a little bit lower. But yes, but here's the thing. ASML could be driving a narrative that maybe NVIDIA isn't going to do as good on earnings, and then NVIDIA is such a large cap where if it falls, everything starts to roll over. So I do want to understand the truth behind this.
Optimistic future financial performance than previously expected. Geopolitical. And trade restrictions. There's mention across different sources of concern.
Is the sound okay, guys, or am I impacting it at all? Is it still just super loud? Because the screen makes it look like I'm lowering the volume and it's not as bad. Let me know.
Regarding U.S. restrictions on technology exports to China, which affects ASML directly since China has been a significant market for ASML,
doesn't really matter.
Accounting for a considerable portion of its revenue in recent quarters. These restrictions could limit
It doesn't seem like it's actually working at all. So I'll have to figure that out. I'll leave it off then. I'm moving the screen volume where it looks like it's bringing it up and down, but in actuality, it doesn't look like it's doing anything at all. It looks like it's still just screaming. I'm going to check one other thing. Let me just see. I'm going to play it again. Watch your ears for a second, guys. I'm just going to test something.
ASML's market access and impact its stock price due to potential revenue loss. Market sentiment and analyst downgrades. Earlier in the year, there were analyst downgrades.
Yeah, so I'm not impacting it at all. So I'll just have to read it myself. Sorry about that, guys. It looks like it just sucks. It just sucks. There's no easy way to fix it. So I've still got to dig into these tools. I have one installed, but it's not working the way I want it to. All right, so let me read. Geopolitical and trade restrictions. There's mentions across different sources of concerns regarding the U.S. restrictions on technology exports to China, which affects ASML directly, since China has been significantly since ASML, China has been a significant market for them. Accounting for a considerable portion of its revenue in recent quarters, these restrictions could limit ASML's market access and impact its stock price due to potential revenue loss. So I think people are there's probably a narrative about China and there being concerns with again, trade restrictions, not just for these guys, but a lot of companies that are in the chip industry. It's probably bleeding over into sentiment and creating a narrative that's negative. We'll listen to more of that in a second here, but let's just keep rocking and rolling. Market sentiment and analyst downgrades. Earlier in the year, there were analyst downgrades from UBS suggesting that the ASML stock might not rise previously expected due to cyclical peaks in sales and uncertainties in the Chinese market. Sounds like that's probably true. General semiconductor industry concerns. There's an overall sentiment of caution in the semiconductor industry, influenced by economic fears and the cyclical nature of semiconductor equipment demand. This broader industry sentiment can affect individual stocks like ASML. AI demand uncertainty. I don't think there's any uncertainty there. So I think this is probably the big news. We'll just put it out there. I'm going to throw this in a bookmark real quick too. Just under NVIDIA and AI. Got a little section for it because I'm too lazy to put them into the individual ones and find them again. Let's look over here. ASML's earnings tomorrow, crucial for the ongoing AI tech rally. I'd say that the ASML doesn't dare to de-Americanize components from its supply chain. Most important one is LPP, EUV light source. U.S. Department of Commerce exploited ASML's vulnerable dependency on U.S. tech. Well, yeah, of course. Of course we're going to do that. All right. So that's interesting. I'm going to actually say that one too. All right. So I think Grok was actually better than what I was looking over at on the other end here with Poe. So I'm gonna side with that one. Let's refresh here real quick. I want to see what other headlines we have for Grok, and then we can go back over to that interview if nothing else interesting is happening. We'll probably look at the market, broader market real quick. I don't really care if it's going down, though. I don't think it matters. Trump's record lead over Harris in Polymarket. It's not just that. You guys got to see this real quick before we move on. So everybody, the headlines right now are like Harris is winning in polling, right? But if you look at individual swing states, it's actually not that great. Also, her average right now is 1.4. That is 8 points lower than where Joe Biden was in 2020 for polling related at that time. And Biden at the end, the real clear polling number was 7.2 in his lead. The final results were 4.5 up. And there's some speculation about whether or not that was fair. Harris this time, though, instead is 8 points at a deficit for where Joe Biden was this last cycle. And if anything, it seems like her numbers are getting worse. So not looking good for the Harris campaign. That's probably why we're seeing a lot more. We're seeing Waltz doing those awkward, like, trying to figure out how to use a gun things. And we're seeing more interviews from her, which are not helping. If anything, they're making it worse. And so, again, David Sachs is probably right. There's a downward spiral effect being created. UAE Central Bank approves AED stablecoin launch. Oh, I don't like government-run stablecoins. Is this a government-run stablecoin? Market's bouncing. See, who gives a shit? It doesn't matter. The Dutch government agrees with the U.S. geopolitically. Of course they do. They have to. They have to, and they align with Western values, right? So, of course, they're going to. So Central Bank has granted in principle approval of the AED stablecoin LLC launch to dirham-pegged stablecoin named AE Coin under its payment token service regulation framework. This marks AE Coin as the first regulated AED-backed stablecoin in the UAE, aimed to transform the digital economy by combining stability of the UAE dirham with the efficiency of blockchain. This is horrific shit. We shouldn't be happy about this at all. We don't want to see stable coins coming into effect. It's good for suppressing people and controlling them. That's not the world we want. So this actually isn't a positive thing. Trump's WLFI token presale. That's just a joke. Only do that if you want to support Trump. Like, don't expect any return on value. Walgreens to close 1,200 stores. Is that helping WBA? Everybody wanted me to look at WBA. Let's see if that's helping WBA. Closing 1,200 stores. I mean, it'll help for a while, right? It'll help for a while, so it's giving it a bounce. But is it a good thing? I don't know. It's up 15% today. Again, when you've fallen off a cliff this badly, you can bounce. So what has this thing done? I think Jake was pushing this one. Good technical trade. So if some people have made money on this, then by listening to him, he did good. But again, I'm not really a trader. I'm not a trader. I'm more of an investor. I don't think it seems hard to get people to understand that, but I am not a trader. I rebalance, but I'm not a trader. So WBA was down 91% from its high in 2015. So it's a dying company, but it's had a nice bounce off the bottom. So anybody that caught the falling knife on this one and made 26% in a short period of time, congratulations. That's not my style, but I root for people to make money and then put it in Tesla and Bitcoin and other stuff. All right. I need to get back. I digress. I want to get back to these videos. I do want to see these, and we have more economic data coming out in 9 minutes. So we'll look at that. And then after that, I'm probably done. So this is probably where we'll call it. Again, there's going to be less stock picking on days like today, guys, and there's going to be more just seeing what's going on in markets and talking about big theme stuff and getting my input of all things. So and then also again input from you guys that are actively doing stuff. So we're testing our support zone right here. I actually love this. I don't hate this at all. I think this is exactly what should be happening with Bitcoin. Let's go ahead and listen to this AI startup writer and talking about new AI models and how they're going to work. One sec.
A lower price tag than your competitors.
So first of all, our incentive is to create high-performance models that enterprise customers can run in their own environment. So we are heavily incentivized to do this at a lower cost so that customers who are not GPU rich, like us, right, are able to do some pretty powerful things. And our approach to synthetic data, we've been working on for years. We have trained a separate LLM that can take real factual data, data that looks like the types of use cases that we address, and convert it to data that is synthetic, that is structured for the clean and clear training by the model.
You just used the term GPU rich. I haven't heard that before, but it raises two questions for me. The first is, do you want to be GPU rich? Is this a workaround until you actually get your hands on some of those chips? Or does this provide a completely different model in general, different pathway forward with these types of Gen AI capabilities?
Great question. It's definitely the latter. We think larger data sets are hitting their ceiling, and the future belongs to this more precision training approach and the architecture innovation on the transformer itself.
So we talk about synthetic data. I mean, there's risks that
I don't have an opinion on that. I don't really know.
Seem to be associated with it.
If you guys are experts on the subject matter, again, throw it out there too. There's some things I don't actually know.
Concerns about echo chambers, concerns about hallucinations. What do you say to those concerns?
If you were creating gobbledygook synthetic data, then I would agree with you. But our approach is really different, and I think we're going to see a lot more companies adopt an approach where you're looking at real factual data, but rather than using data that is meant for humans, you're building data that is meant for AI and meant to be training data.
So Jensen Huang from NVIDIA came on the show last week with Julie Sweet from Accenture. They're striking a deal together to basically bridge the gap between NVIDIA's stack and enterprise AI. They think this is something that's going to happen, and then simultaneously industrial AI too over this next couple of years.
I like
You
her.
actually work with Accenture. How do you see these chapters playing out, especially when we are talking about this application layer, and Accenture is one of your clients, and she talked a lot about software needing to be rewired.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a complete rewrite of software, and both NVIDIA and Accenture are customers, actually, and partners. So this is an ecosystem that we know very well, and there is just so much work to do for the last mile for these enterprises. And, we love and respect both companies very much, and these are all going to be massive, massive opportunities to help the enterprise build and scale and really get their people to adopt.
All right, that was cool. I'm going to
AMD shares closing in the red today after.
I don't care about AMD right now. That was really cool, though. I've added her to my list. I like her. I think she's really smart. Let's go back, though.
Startup writer is aiming to fix one of the big.
Because I want to see this next one here is going to be BlackRock CEO Larry Fink. talking about the positioning of his firm and what he sees coming in the future. And I think that's going to be interesting too. Bitcoin at 65.7 right now. Not a big deal. I think this is pretty normal. Joseph Mock says, Jesse, ARKG down again. Are you planning to buy any more? I will buy more, but it's going to be a laggard. So I'm okay with waiting and gaining a bunch of returns off of Bitcoin and Tesla over the beginning of this next year into the middle of next year. And then looking at ARKG more and more along the way, along with a bunch of other investments. Here's Larry Fink.
Larry is the chairman and CEO of BlackRock. And Larry, congratulations. You are doing the impossible. You're organically growing the largest asset base in the world at a level that's high single digit. It's impossible. So tell us how you're doing it.
Well, hi, everyone. How are we doing it? I think it's, we also had our 25th anniversary a couple of weeks ago, or last week. I think we've positioned the firm to take advantage of the growing capital markets worldwide. I think the foundational belief when we started the company 37 years ago, when we went public 25 years ago, was about more and more of the world's economic growth will be financed through the capital markets. And we positioned ourselves in that in all different measures. In 2009, when we did the acquisition of BGI, we had a belief that ETFs are going to be one of the vehicles in which we're going to be doing more and more economic activity. And, when we bought BGI, iShares had $340 billion. Today is $4.2 trillion. Even in 2012, when I think on this show I said ETFs are becoming the major engine for fixed income, we crossed $1 trillion of fixed income ETFs. And now what we are seeing through the capital markets is the blending of privates and publics. I think we're going to see portfolios that are going to be looking at publics and privates in a blended way. And that's why analytics and data are going to be even more and more important in the private area. We acquired Preqin. We'll close that at year end. I think that'll be the major component of making privates even larger and the role of the capital markets even bigger. So we're seeing now private credit becoming more the domain of the capital markets, away from banking and insurance. This is all a part of the growth of the capital markets, and BlackRock's now positioning over the next 5 years of becoming a large-scale player in India. And what we are working on creating a whole new retirement platform in India with our partners Geo.
I think that's smart.
So all of this is just building on the capital markets, and then importantly, when I think about our role, we own a large share of every company in the world in their credit business and in their equity. And so we're perceived as a long-term investor, a partner with all these corporations. We're not this transactional firm going in and out. And so when you think about things that were going on, they're coming to BlackRock both for how can we expand our platform. We announced
Thanks, Robert.
A few weeks ago our Microsoft MGX.
This is it.
Right.
September 17th.
Right. Breakthrough. And, it's about BlackRock helping and playing a role. That also explains the industrial logic of why we did GIP.
Right. Which you just closed.
Which we just
Global
closed.
Infrastructure Partner, adding another $116 billion in assets. That's not part of the...
Not part of the number, no.
But I want to talk private credit because you just brought it up, of course, in your initial remarks here. Right now, it's been a place where institutional money has largely played, insurers, the asset base there. BlackRock is known for bringing these things to the masses. Is there and are there going to be products where obviously you can't offer the daily liquidity, but where you can get an audience similar to what you've done on the ETF front for public equities? Or Bitcoin.
Right.
And how is that going to evolve? Because I've spent a lot of time here talking about the growth of private credit because it's so important.
So, David, I think it's about creating analytics and data in that sector to help investors understand it so we could compare and contrast public and private. Obviously, through that, we broaden the market, and through broadening the market, we create more liquidity.
Which almost makes it like a public market, though. Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting conversation about Bitcoin. Let's listen.
It should be. I think about it when in my early days before BlackRock we created the mortgage-backed securities market. Nobody even wanted to see or hear from me, but each day we try to grow and build something that was very illiquid to something that became one of the largest liquid markets in our capital market. I think this is the evolution of the capital markets.
CEO and CIO of ARK Invest. OpenAI is now the third largest position in the ARK Venture Fund. Kathy, it's great to have you on. Welcome.
Thank you, Morgan. Happy to be here.
All right, I don't know which one that is. Kind of almost want to hear it. Oh, there's so many things to look at. All right, let's just take a look at chat real quick here. 2 minutes till economic data. Let's get back to that and just see what we got here. Let me just shrink this up, and then we'll refresh. Oh, we got breaking data. Let's listen to. Oh no, I don't want to do it there. We'll do mine. We'll do mine. Let's go back over here. We could pull this up real quick too. So this is inflation expectations.
NASDAQ down almost a full percent here. We'll keep our eye on that. NVIDIA's down about 5%. Some breaking news out of the New York Fed. Inflation expectations unchanged for the next year, but up slightly for the 3-year and the 5-year time horizons. The cost of food.
I mean, that's not strange. We're probably going to have a higher rate of inflation because of our debt servicing. I believe goods inflation could get a lot cheaper because of the moves that China will have to make, but I do believe that we'll see inflation, if nothing else, from tariffs, and then also just the high debt loads that we're going to have to service unless we're able to bring markets down a lot. So not too crazy. We'll look at the numbers here too.
Food rising just 0.1% for the year. Medical costs falling to their lowest point since February of 2020. The perceived probability of losing one's job in the next 12 months unchanged at 13.3%. And the perceived probability of finding a new job if a job was lost increased by 0.4. Expected household income growth declined by 0.1 to 3%, still above pre-pandemic levels. And the perceived probability of missing a minimum debt payment increased for the 4th straight month. Let's bring in our senior markets commentator, Mike Santoli, on a week that's a little bit light on macro, but this will feed the machine, Mike.
Yeah, for sure, Carl. And I think it's mostly a steady picture as you kind of went down the list there. I think we're a little bit liberated from really fixating on the inflation expectations piece because the inflation numbers themselves have been okay. So this basically, I don't think, should change the story too much. In fact, if anything, today's huge drop in oil prices is really putting a weight onto yields, which had really been close to a level people thought maybe you had to pay more attention about a possible upside breakout. Also, the rethink on China seems to have that effect as well. And I think the market has shown that if we pull some rate cuts potentially out of the forward path, it doesn't necessarily impede upside progress for
almost under the 70 mark, almost in the 60s. Wouldn't that be crazy for oil?
Stocks. To me, it's much more about, has the overall index, gotten just a little bit stretched, and do we need a breather? Not so much do the fundamentals support where we are already.
Book in Tackle says, do you like TSL at these levels? Yes, but I say that with a caveat where we could see Tesla drop down into that 200 range like I've been talking about. Let's also just look over here real quick. Let's see how we're doing on the CME Fed Watch tool in regard to rate cuts and see if there's been any major changes. So in November, we still see a 90% now, 90.1% chance of one rate cut. That's getting pretty locked in. And then that's November 7th, so that's only 3 weeks from now. And then December 18th, we've got an 82.5. So both of these are looking really strong right now as a possibility of occurring in the near future. Let's listen to what else he has to say. I think in a little bit here too, guys, I might actually bow out. It's 10 o'clock, so we've been doing this for 3 hours. I think I might jump. Again, huge thank you to Derek. If you guys don't follow Derek on X, follow him. It's Derek Wall. He's a great dude. That 50 memberships was just phenomenal. And thank you to everybody else who ended up joining too. It's all very, very appreciated, like a lot. And just looking at it on the screen here, it's Shumeli for the 690 and whatever currency that is, and BGZ for $2, and Rebecca for joining, and Piso for $5, and BGZ for another $2, and Derek for his 50, and then Nahat, Tien, Mike, and T Ting for joining as members too. It's just a massive amount of support in a day, and I really, really appreciate you guys. We'll probably pick up on some of these other videos that I wanted to watch a little bit later, so I'll probably do a couple of those in the market recap Just because, again, I think the more we understand about the CEO's views into transportation and shipping and whatever else is going on, and potential backups from the strike and the hurricane and all these, just the more we understand about markets and what these CEOs are thinking from what they're seeing, I think we can just add that to our list of knowledge and have greater foresight. So we'll keep doing that. I really appreciate you guys. I do have a song to play here. Let me see here. We already did Freedom Over Money, so I'm just going to roll it over to the next one. Let me make sure I'm not blowing out your ears. Let me make sure I'll start off a little low here, but otherwise I'll see you guys at 3 p.m. this afternoon. This one's okay. We're going to skip it. Here we go. This is 11 years old, and it's from Gravitas Recordings, and it's called Bitcoin Baron. So again, these people are OGs. Let's show them some respect. I love you guys. If you could hit the like and comment afterwards, thank you very much. See you at 3 p.m.
You know rappers like to rock chains, rock blockchains, knock 'em out the box, I'm on Doc's main. Key ring full of water data. I gotta pray that my ASIC incinerators blow the mind like a creeper one time in my circus divine. A fine way to keep the power bill in check. My equipment is starting to sweat from the heat. Crypto anarchy becoming a threat. So you know rappers like to rock pools. I got fools who can't swim in, but I'm collecting a spice like a Fremen. So you fools get stepping and get to choosing your weapon because the deafening roar of indefinite war is epic. I found a new way to debit the people. I generate an address and I generate a sequel. I get medieval when I'm taking payments, cause I don't want the NSA all stuck up in my anus. Yeah, and I'm a Bitcoin baron, I'm scaring the status quo. Got that crypto going at that foul to blow. And the algorithm gon' get them until prison send us all to prison. And that's a nerdy living. I'm a Bitcoin baron, I'm scaring the status quo. Got that crypto going at that foul to blow. And the algorithm gon' get them until prison send us all to prison. And that's a nerdy living. You know rappers like to sell drugs, but you do it on the streets and you did it in Google Buzz or Google Plus. There's a road made of silk if you must. Get your hustle out of chemical rush, avoiding the brush with the law. Can stop them all cause they got it anonymous. The ones that play it stupid, they get thrown in the bottomless pit. Don't even know how to cut up them layers of the onion. So let the players play pumpkin. Hash function, pumping and dumping. Manipulate the market, flooded from the darknet, flooded from the deep web. Keep it a secret. Every exchange got the nerdy brains trading on the frequent. Wonder where the league went. They left the cement, looking for the promised land. Online beaming. Up Scotty, this the future decentralized swag. Keep the work in your laptop bag. I'm a Bitcoin baron, I'm scaring the status quo. Got that crypto going at that foul to blow. And the algorithm gon' get them until prison send us all to prison. And that's a nerdy living. I'm a Bitcoin baron, I'm scaring the status quo. Got that crypto going at that foul to blow. And the algorithm gon' get them until prison send us all to prison. And that's a nerdy living. You know rappers can't pay bills. Face the tax implications of evasion when they stack meals. Got a homie field deuce one, taught me the solution. Dumping all this knowledge from the booth, son. Anyone can learn it if you put in the work and research on how to line up just a fraction of your worth in the dirt. Like Jesus said, keep your bones under verse, cause there ain't no telling when that bubble go in the verse. You know rappers say they about the future, but you ain't Marty McFly till you buy kombucha from a supermarket with them bitcoins. Do you get your Charlie Sheen greens off computer screens from the Philippines? Grab them leaves, knock off Louis V's, try to freeze my assets. Long on is the cash in the mattress. Now it's all tied up in hashes, wrapped up in encrypted badges. And I'm a Bitcoin baron, I'm scaring the status quo. Got that crypto going at that foul to blow. And the algorithm gon' get them until prison send us all to prison. And that's a nerdy living. I'm a Bitcoin baron, I'm scaring the status quo. Got that crypto going at that foul to blow. And the algorithm gon' get them until prison send us all to prison. And that's a nerdy living.